Hey guys, welcome back to Craig's Game Room. I am Craig, obviously, but I have a uncommon occurrence, and today I have a friend with me. Why don't you introduce yourself, friend?
Friend is a strong word. I don't know if I would allow you to call me that.
Hey now, rude.
I am a Christian at Bird Dog Gaming on social media and stuff. Thanks for having me, man.
Yes, of course. For those of you that don't know, but most of you probably do, I do a twice a month show over on Christian's channel called Collective Perspective. So we figured, why not? Maybe it's finally time we do something on my channel together, just to mix things up a little bit. We're going to be doing not something really related to game collecting, which I know is kind of the point of the channel, but I still thought it'd be fun regardless to do this. We are going to be talking about all of the games that we beat in 2023. So we're going to be going over every game. If the date's written down from when we beat them, we'll mention, when we beat them, so that way we could kind of go chronologically throughout the year. I'll mention a game, then he'll mention a game, vice versa. And yeah, we just want to talk about what we played. Since a lot of the time on our channels, we don't really talk about the games that we play and like so much as we talk about the stuff we collect. So this will kind of give you guys a taste into our actual video gaming taste and what we like to play. Sound good to you, man?
Heck yeah, man.
All right. So I would like to let the guest go first, of course. So, first of all, I would like to ask you, how many games did you beat in 2023?
37 games, Craig.
Dang, that's pretty good. My minimum I try to do every year is at least 26. Since there's 52 weeks in the year, I figure if
Hmm.
every 2 weeks or so I could beat a game, I feel like that's pretty solid to keep me up to date with just constantly indulging in my hobby enough. So
You
I say 37 is a pretty good number.
you play a lot of RPGs to be beating a game every other week.
I know. So that's why it's kind of funny. You'll see sporadically. Like I have a few months in a row where it's like I only beat one game, but then there'll be one month where I beat like 7 games and went crazy.
Yeah.
So and unfortunately, that is the hardest part. Being a big RPG, especially JRPG fan, is my backlog is endless. It'll never end, and it's very stressful. But I still enjoy doing it. So why don't you tell me what was the first game you beat in 2023?
I started the year with finishing up a game from a franchise I talk about way too much these days. It's called Castlevania. Um, I played through my first DS Castlevania, Portrait of Ruin. I think
Ooh.
in 2022, towards the end of the year, I went to a convention. No, it was like the middle of the year, but I picked that game up and freaking loved it, man. I mean, every Castlevania I play, just about every single one, I love it. Some of them are way different than others, but for the most
Mm-hmm.
part, it's a quote unquote Metroidvania, and it's gonna be a
Mm-hmm.
fantastic experience no matter what. Um, I think that was I guess I'm not gonna try to remember what number Castlevania that was for me. I've got like 12 of them
Mm-hmm.
beaten now. I freaking
Dang.
just love the series, man. And
Yeah.
um, this one was cool. You had some like Mario 64 action where you're like going into the paintings, which was nice. Hence the Portrait of
That's
Ruin.
cool.
Um, yeah, I played this on my DSi on that nice big screen,
Ooh, beautiful. I love the resolution on that screen.
and
All the games look gorgeous on the DSi.
that was on January 9th of last year. First game beaten.
Nice. So pretty early on, huh?
Yeah.
Nice. So, would you say that's like a top tier Castlevania? Is it one of your favorites?
I always like to split it up into like the 2D platformers and the quote unquote Metroidvanias.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I know I'm not a big fan of that term either. I could tell you don't like it, but it's just what people call it, so it
it's
is what
even
it
worse
is.
when you're talking about a game that is a Vania, right? Like it's really weird to call it
Yeah.
Castlevania a Metroidvania.
Yeah, you're like, yeah, this Castlevania game is like Castlevania. That's what it
um,
feels like. Very redundant.
I mean, I think I've played 4 or 5 of the Metroidvania style, and oh, I guess it's up there. Yeah, out of the 4 or 5 I've played, it's probably second or third. It's
Nice.
it's very good. Would recommend.
Wow. So you would. You would recommend. Good to know.
Absolutely.
All right. So the first game up for me that I beat in 2023. By the way, I forgot to mention I beat 40 games last year, so
Oh,
pretty heavy year for me. I did quite a lot. I was busy.
nice.
Um, very busy. But the first game that I beat was on January 15th, and that was Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion. So I am a massive, massive Final Fantasy VII fan. I think it's probably my favorite Final Fantasy. I'm kind of up in the air with it now that I've beaten another Final Fantasy game that I'll talk about later on in this
Ooh.
video. But I do love 7 a lot. I love 7 Remake a lot. We're getting Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth at the end of February, which I'm super duper excited about. And I'd never played Crisis Core, so when they announced the kind of remaster slash remake for the modern consoles, that was obviously a must buy for me. And I started it in December, didn't finish it till January. Absolutely loved it. The gameplay gets a little bit repetitive because it's kind of just like mission based, and the combat isn't super varied, honestly. But it was kind of, a earlier PSP game, kind of meant to be played in sporadic burst on the go. And it does give you a lot of context and background of a fairly major character in Final Fantasy VII being Zack Fair. And it's funny because he's a very major character in Final Fantasy VII, and he's in like maybe 2 or 3 scenes, like as in flashbacks. So to get all the context surrounding his character and how he has an impact on what I think is the greatest story ever told in a video game was very cool for me. And if you're a fan of Final Fantasy VII, it is a must play in my opinion.
That's super interesting. I'm like 8 hours into the Final Fantasy VII, and I don't recognize a man named Zach. But
Yeah, and you won't for a while either.
um, I'm surprised with your love for the PlayStation Portable that you never played that game on the original hardware.
Yeah, so as much as I like the PlayStation Portable, I hate playing on the PlayStation Portable. Usually, if I play PSP games, it's on my Vita because it doesn't feel like a cheap toy that's gonna crumble in my hands. Vita feels much more quality, and that's one of the biggest PSP games that never got ported to the Vita store. So the only way you could get it on your Vita is by kind of having a modded console and fandangling it around to get it running on there. And that was just not something I was honestly interested in doing because it's kind of a hassle, or at least at the time of when I had modded my Vita back in the day, it was a bit more complicated to get games on there that weren't running on there natively already. So I just never bothered, and then we got these modern ports, and they're a great time. So definitely recommend. I played it on PS5. Probably, honestly, best to play it on the Switch though, just because it's kind of meant to be a handheld game.
Hmm.
It feels like a handheld game, and that's not a bad thing. Some games are just better suited for that kind of gameplay style. So, yeah, if you like Final Fantasy VII, it's a definite recommend, and kind of required, if you want to play the upcoming Final Fantasy VII Rebirth at the end of February.
There's like other spin-offs of that game, right? Like I feel like I just came across one the other day and it shocked me.
Yeah, there's a couple of mobile games. There's one going on right now, Ever Crisis, and then there's also what is it called? I think it's Dirge of Cerberus, which is a PS2 game where you play as a vampire that joins your party later on in Final Fantasy VII. I have not played that one,
Weird.
but it is on my priority list for this year just because I want to experience all things Final Fantasy VII.
Is there like another DS one or PSP one? Maybe it was Dirge of Cerberus that I saw.
Yeah, that's the PS2 game, and then there's the movie. There's a Final Fantasy VII movie, and all these wild things. So it's very funny how Final Fantasy VII is part of a series, but Final Fantasy VII is basically its own series at this point. It's kind of funny how that evolved into the way that it has.
Well, I'm glad you like that. I heard good things about
Yeah.
it.
All right, what you got
I
next?
played High on Life, which feels like a lifetime ago.
Ooh,
That game, I can't believe that was only 12 months ago. That game came to Game Pass in 2022, and it just like blew up on the internet. And I just had FOMO, but it was fine because I didn't have to spend any money on it. It was on Game Pass, cool. Um, Checked it
It's
out.
the beauty of Game Pass.
I the game gets a lot of hate because it's Justin Roiland, and I feel like people just really, I don't know. It seemed like Rick and Morty was the biggest thing in the world for like a couple of years there, and then all of a sudden it's
Until
like,
it wasn't,
and all
yeah.
of a sudden it's like everybody hates. I mean, I'm not like some diehard Justin Roiland fan or anything. Like I'll watch the occasional Rick and Morty episode, and I'll get a good chuckle out of it. But the game looked great. It looked like a fun FPS, and it was. I mean, it wasn't a great game. It definitely felt like it could have used a lot of polish, but the story was cool. The game was cool. The unique weapons were a lot of fun.
hmm
I'd probably give it like a 7 out of 10 if I had to rate it. It was a good time. Um,
Nice. And I saw my favorite thing about that game I saw online that I thought was so funny was there's a quest where you have to watch somebody's bike until he comes back, and the quest doesn't end until you look away from his bike, and as soon as you look back, his bike is gone and he's yelling at you. And I thought that was such a funny idea, and that's what made me want to play the game. So it's been on my backlog for a while, just literally just because I saw that scene and I thought it was so funny.
that game has like random, like on the TVs in the game, they like play an entire film from like the 80s, like some random 80s film that had like Paul Walker in it, or maybe it was a 90s movie. And it's just like,
That's so
what the,
funny.
like, there's so much crazy stuff in that game, but yeah.
That's awesome. I love that. Okay, so next up for me, I have a game that I did not like. I was very disappointed in it. I also beat it on January 15th, and that was Dance Dance Revolution Mario Mix. So I love rhythm games, so I was hoping that it would be a fun time. It's not. There's almost no Mario music in it. It's just like weird licensed stuff like Twinkle
Really?
Twinkle Little Star and stupid stuff like that. Yeah, I couldn't believe it. And it wasn't challenging even on the harder modes, honestly. So yeah, just not much to say other than disappointing and would not recommend. Mario DDR ain't it?
So did you sell that when you got rid of the set? Like the big box?
Um, no, I still have the big box. I don't have the games though. So I have the giant box with the dance pad.
Nice.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's pretty funny. I'm sorry you didn't like that.
They can't all be winners. It's fine.
High on Life was January 11th. Golf Story was January 27th. And
Ooh, I've heard good things about that.
yeah, it's a good time. It's golf as an RPG, and it's got the 8-bit graphics that every indie developer uses these days. But um, super cool game. It took me a long time to get through it. I mean, I probably started it 2 years prior and just like hardly
Oh
played
wow.
through it. It's a short game, but I finally sat
hmm
down and forced myself to get through it. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It was a good time. It was the kind of game that it's not the kind of game that you want to take a break from like I did. You definitely
hmm
want to sit there and remember where you're supposed to go next, and the long gaps I was taking between it were not helping me. But I played that on. I think it's a Switch exclusive. I played that on Switch.
hmm
Um, that's pretty cool. I don't remember if they were making a sequel for that, or like I'm pretty sure there's a sports story now. I don't know if that's related.
Yes. It is. It's by the same devs, and a lot of people are disappointed in it, unfortunately. But I've heard good things about Golf Story. Yeah, RPGs are hard sometimes if you step away for a while and come back. You're like, what the hell was I doing?
It had good
But yeah,
comedy.
I've heard.
The characters were funny and everything, and the
hmm
golf itself felt good. It had some really unique ideas, and it was a good time. Would recommend.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I need to check that one out. I know that came out near the Switch's launch, so it's pretty old
Mm.
now. But it's been on the back of my mind for a while. Next up for me, I have One Piece Grand Battle, which is a very old One Piece game. I played the GameCube version. It's back when they still had like a completely different dubbing company, 4 kids working on it. So it has old, not as good voice actors from back then, which is kind of funny. I wouldn't consider myself a giant One Piece fan, but I do very much enjoy it. I read the manga, not a big fan of the pacing of the anime, but the game was fun. It doesn't really have way too much to it. It's just kind of an arcade mode where you pick your character, you go through all the fights, and then the credits roll. So I
Mm.
played through, I think, Nami and Luffy's stories, and I had a good time with it. It's not super deep of a fighting game. It's a little bit on the party side of fighting games. But if you're a One Piece fan, you'll probably have a good time with it. It's a good way to kill, an hour, hour and a half. I also beat that on January 15th, so
Dang.
all three of those games were beaten on the same day. Yeah, it was a Saturday or a Sunday. I was chilling.
Nice.
And those were all the games I beat in January, actually, anyway, so I beat all those and then didn't play anything for a while. So yeah, One Piece Grand Battle. Only recommend if you are a One Piece fan, and even then, it's pretty skippable, honestly. It's more of a, if you have it and you're mildly curious kind of game.
That's the expensive one,
Uh,
right?
Grand Battle? I do not think so. I don't think there's an expensive one on GameCube, but I could
I
be
think
wrong. I don't remember any of them being too
I
much.
think it's Grand Adventure is the one that's
Yes.
pricier.
Y- yes. Grand Adventure is definitely more money, I remember. Grand Battle is the most common one of them.
It sounds a lot like Naruto Clash of Ninja. Those games are like straight up fighting, and it's just getting through the story. And um,
Although I'd argue Clash of Ninja is actually good. I like those
good
games
to
a
know.
lot, so yeah, if you're an Naruto fan, I'd say those are worth checking out, especially uh, since they came out around the same time as the anime. Very cool to have them coinciding. I love those games. And we did not get all the Clash of Ninjas in America, which is a shame because there's a third and fourth one that only came out in Japan. We only got one and two in America.
I played the second one. It
So
was a
yeah,
fun time.
so yeah. Don't play One Piece Grand Battle. Play Naruto Clash of Ninja. What? All right, what you got next?
Um, on my birthday, evidently, I finished Pokemon Scarlet March 7th, so I didn't beat
Nice,
any games in
nice.
February.
Ooh, big gap.
I just gotta take a minute and say that I freaking love all the Pokemon on Switch. Like people can, yes, the graphics suck, the performance sucks, but you can't deny that Pokemon is so freaking fun. And I'm out here buying this double pack for Scarlet and Violet for 120 bucks, and then I bought the freaking DLC for 30 bucks. I'm that guy. I am contributing to the problem. And I freaking love Scarlet and Violet, man. It's a
Yeah.
bunch of fun.
And he's not sorry
Not
about it. He's
sorry.
not sorry about it. Now, I've heard a lot of people say that even though Scarlet and Violet have all these performance issues and stuff, that at its core, they're still very fun games. So I believe it, and I'd definitely like to check them out eventually because I've played almost every Pokemon generation, and my favorite Pokemon generations, which are Diamond and Pearl and Sun and Moon, are most people's least favorites. So I try not to judge other people's Pokemon opinions because I'm like I'm the one that's usually in the minority. So
I just I mean it's the same thing. You're playing you're going in an open world, you're catching Pokemon, you're doing what you've always loved in all the
hmm
games. They change it up a little bit. I'm not hard to please, at least with Pokemon. I'm loving it. And my girlfriend plays with me, so I'll get Sword, she'll play Shield, or it was vice versa. But
hmm
I got Scarlet, she'll play Violet, and it's just a great time. We play through these together, and I love it. I'm here for it.
Yeah, who cares? If you're having a good time, that's all that matters. So you'd recommend Pokemon
Heck
Scarlet and
yeah.
Violet. Heck yeah. Alright, next up for me, on February 5th, I played through Fragrant Story. If you are a watcher of this channel previously, I've actually talked about this game on here before. It is a weird indie tactical role playing game that is like 15 minutes long. They've actually recently updated it, and now it's like a 10 to 20 hour game because that's how much content they've added to it. So I definitely think it'd be interesting to go back and see now that it's more of an actual game opposed to kind of like a paid demo. It definitely had potential from what I played, but the version I played, is $5 15-minute game, so I honestly can't recommend it just based off of that. But very much inspired by a lot of old Square Enix and different kind of JRPGs of the olden days. So, why not? Support an indie developer, I guess, now that the game is, well, you know what? It was a 3DS game, and you can't buy games off 3DS eShop anymore. So, if you want to hunt down a physical cartridge, you could still support the guy. Other than that, there's not really a way to do that now. So,
Yeah, that was a pretty cool little unboxing you had on the channel.
yeah, thank you. The weird digital only release, and then it has a physical version.
Yep.
But and he recently released a third version of the game that's physical again, but it has all this content updated on the cartridge, so you don't have to update the game. So it's kind of cool
Wow.
that he stuck with it and kind of kept his word. Because it's like if you bought the older version, you could update and get it for free, or if you want to buy a new version with the newest update already on the cartridge, you have that option. So, Fragrance Story is out there. And the opinion is still kind of in the air, I guess, with the version that I played.
Yeah, I think people were mad when that came out and it was a 15-minute game.
They were because it wasn't really clarified, if I remember correctly, and a lot of people thought that it was kind of a scam that like they were just trying to capitalize on being one of the last 3DS games and stuff. But the honestly, the developer seems like a good guy, and I don't really think that was his intention. I think that it just got a lot more coverage because it was one of the last physical 3DS games made.
I believe
So
it.
I think a little bit of the pressure. I think little bit of the pressure got put on him unintentionally because of that.
I believe it.
All right, what you got next, fool?
March 11th. Have you ever played Pac-Man World 2, Craig?
Oh my god, the game is impossible. I can't believe you beat it.
Dude, that's one of those games. I've been playing a lot of GameCube games these last couple of years where I'm like, man, that was a great game as
Mm-hmm.
a kid. Let me find out just how great it was. And I find out it sucks. Man, Pac-Man World 2, dude. I never owned it, but my cousin had it. And so him and I streamed this game across like 2 or 3 streams. And it was painful. That first world is pretty good. It's pretty polished. And then you just get so pissed off with like poor camera angles and like jumps that you feel like you really should have made. And I don't know, it's not a great 3D platformer. um that game sold a ton of copies.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Like it made player's choice. It's on all 3 consoles and it has a budget label on all 3 of them. um the weird thing is, like, growing up, I had never ever heard of Pac-Man World 1. Like,
No, me
and
neither. I thought Pac-Man World 2 was the first one, despite the name.
and no, there's a whole Pac-Man World 1 out there that also got a greatest hits on PlayStation. I don't know. I
Mm-hmm.
hope that game's better, but
It's pretty good. I beat that one.
you played the repack or you played the original?
No, I played Repack, so
I feel like they got to be coming out with a second repack for the second game, and I won't be buying it. That was not a good experience.
well,
Go ahead.
I feel like the issues of Pac-Man World 2 are fixable because I really think it's kind of just wonky physics. Because I remember the issue being once you get like the volcano world towards the end of the game and like there's too much precise platforming
Yeah,
and the physics don't allow for that precision. Because other than that, I've always enjoyed everything else about the game. But because of those wonky physics, I've always gotten to the lava the world towards the end and I couldn't beat it. And that's always made me sad because I'm just like, man, it's like the one that got away. Like a game that I really enjoyed and I just couldn't beat it because at the end it just gets so ridiculously
for
hard.
sure.
But but I think it kind of has the original Sonic effect where it's like it has a great introduction and everybody loves it because they remember that great introduction, and then it just goes downhill after that first world. So, because I mean, Green Hill Zone, amazing. You get to Marble Zone or whatever it is, and instantly you're like, this isn't very fun anymore.
I like Sonic. Um,
You like, well, you're wrong, but that's fine. Nah, it's okay. Sonic 1 is fine. Before everyone gets mad at me, it's fine.
Anything else to say about Pac-Man World 2? I think it's a really good soundtrack in that game, and I've always liked how like it looks like graphically a really pretty game, and
Mm-hmm.
that's all I have to say about that game. I guess that's Pac-Man World 2. Don't play it.
Do not recommend. All right, next up, I have also on February 5th, so the same day as the last game, Mom Hid My Game. So this is a fun little puzzle game I played on 3DS. I think it's been ported to other systems since, but it's literally about a little kid and his mom doesn't want to play in his game, so she hides his DS. And it's a bunch of, I think it's only like 25, 30 levels where you have to look around the room and you touch the touch screen to touch different things on the screen to move things around or make little events happen like opening up the fridge and then the cold freezes something and that reveals your DS or like silly little things like that. So it's just a fun little quirky puzzle game. Very simple art style, very simple premise. You can't get it on 3DS anymore, obviously, unless you have a modded system. But it is a fun little time, and it's a good 45 minute to an hour kind of time killer game. So I'd recommend it if you like puzzle games. It'll give you a good few laughs.
That sounds cute. It was a digital only.
Yes, it was digital only.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so worth checking out. Like I said, I'm pretty sure that either the sequel or the original and the sequels have been released on Switch in some way. So the series is out there if you want to check it out.
Um, my next one, I replayed my favorite game of all time, Super Mario 3D World. Potentially my favorite game of all
Ooh.
time. Uh,
Still can't decide.
that was also in March 20th. Played it co-op with my girlfriend this time, and we finished it, and she was like, "Yeah, I like the new Super Mario Bros. Games better." I was like, "All right, well, it was nice knowing you." Um,
Yeah, it was a good relationship.
no, we have like great memories of like new Super Luigi U. We struggled for hours and days trying to get through this one really tough level, and by the time we actually beat it, we like both jumped up and like hugged each other, and we were like, it was a
That's
moment.
awesome.
Oh,
And then 3D World is so easy that you're like, all right, anyway.
yeah, according to her. No, it was
Luigi U is very hard,
yeah.
so
I like the challenge in that game, but yeah, not a whole lot to say about this game because it was replayed, but obviously would recommend.
yes. Yes, it is, especially if it's debatably your favorite game of all time. I would definitely recommend it as well. I think it's a definitely. There's a lot of revisionist history with that game. I remember people weren't really big on it until the Switch version, and I was like, it was always good. I don't know where you guys were. I guess because no one owned a Wii U, but definitely, definitely an underrated Mario game. I'm a big fan of it as well.
Good.
I played a classic next, a classic Sega game. I played the 360 version of it, though, on the Xbox Series S, and that was Nights into Dreams. I played that on February 9th.
Ooh.
Um, this is a game that I tried a long time ago, and I was like, I don't get it, this is stupid. And then I decided to try it again, and I said, I don't get it, this is stupid. And then, I kind of just messed around with it for a little while, and then all of a sudden it clicked, and I was like, oh my god, this is one of the most fun, like, addicting arcade games I've ever played in my entire life. And I played through it like 3 times that night. Like I just did it over and over again, playing through all the levels, trying to do better on my scores and stuff. It is a phenomenal, phenomenal game. I cannot recommend it enough. Uh, like I said, it takes a little bit before the controls and how the flow of the game kind of works. But once it makes sense, and you'll have a fantastic time. The aesthetics of the game are gorgeous. I love Sega Saturn aesthetics. The music is beautiful. It is a damn shame that Sega only ever did this and then a Wii game that I haven't played yet, but I've heard is pretty mediocre in comparison. Because I think the series has a lot of potential. The Knight's character has one of the coolest little designs of any video game character ever. I think it's very iconic looking for how niche of a character it is. But because a lot of people don't even know what game Knights is from, they just know the character Knights, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you have a modern Xbox, you could download this game. I think for like $10. They also have it on Steam and it's on PS3. So this was actually a game that entered not my top 10, but it's in my top 20 for
Wow.
sure. Once I beat it, so it became an instant all time favorite once I played through it. I cannot recommend it enough. And of course, if you are watching this channel, you're probably a fan of retro games, retro collecting. It's a Sega Saturn classic, a Sega Saturn must play, and I would recommend it most on Sega Saturn just because why the hell not? That's the original version. So
I don't think it's hit $100 yet, so I think it's still somewhat affordable.
yes, and it's one of the best Sega games, period. So highly recommend. I know you have a Sega Saturn and a modern day Xbox, so you should try to make this one a priority yourself this
Is
year.
it only like an hour long?
Try to, yeah, you could beat it in under an hour if you know what you're doing. Like I said, it takes a little bit to understand, but once the controls click, it is very addicting and very fun.
I have it on Saturn, and I've always used the excuse that I just like don't have the 3D pad to play it, but
And that's fair, honestly. It definitely is better with a stick. So I'd either wait till you get the 3D pad or I would just buy the 360 version because it's still excellent.
I think I'm gonna give it a shot with the D-pad. We'll see how bad it is.
Hey, it's worth it. Worth a
That's a
shot.
good D-pad on that controller. That thing's nice and flexible.
Yes, it is. I love the Saturn controller.
Um, in March 22nd, I finished the Famicom
Mm.
version of Kid Dracula. That's a cool game.
Ooh.
That's
Yes, it
that's
is.
a pretty cool game. Played it on the Castlevania collection on Xbox One. Streamed it. That was a great time. Um, I had actually done something that I like swear against, which is like save states. The original the first time I played this game I used save states, and so this year when I played it I was like determined to actually play through it the right way, and it was solid. It was a great game. It's not like a top 10 Castlevania for me or anything, but it was a good time. It's a nice little spin off with really cute little sprite work, and yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah, I like that game a lot too. I also played it through the Castlevania collection. Weirdly enough, I played it through Amazon Luna because I was trying that out when that first came out, and it was on Amazon
Hmm.
Luna, which is like their version of Google Stadia or Xbox Cloud Gaming. It definitely didn't run as well as Xbox Cloud Gaming or Stadia, so it's a shame that Stadia is dead and Amazon Luna is not. But that's not the point. A very fun game. I used save states when I played it as well. I am not ashamed to say that I play a lot of old games with save states because I'm just not good at video games, but I still want to experience them. I totally respect people that are anti save state as well. But I do think that it's a good time, and I remember it being very hard. So you should be proud if you beat it without save states, because I remember that last level, especially fighting the dog, being very rough. No pun intended.
Nothing wrong with save states. I don't know how different the Game Boy version is. I think it's pretty significantly different.
I'm pretty sure it is as well, and it's a shame that it's not on the
Yeah,
Castlevania collection. I always thought it was weird that wasn't on there, because there's no modern way to play that. Um, but yeah, cool game.
yes
Good
sir.
pick. Next up for me, on February 12th, I played Rhythm Heaven Mega Mix. As I mentioned earlier, big rhythm game fan. I love Rhythm Heaven. Um, Even though I have not played all the Rhythm Heaven games, I've actually only played the DS one. I never played the Wii one or the Game Boy Advance one. But now that I've beaten Megamix, I really want to go back and play all of them just to have all the games under my belt. Megamix is cool. It has a lot of old. It's mostly older mini rhythm games from the older games, but it has a couple of new ones thrown in there. Rhythm Heaven is almost like WarioWare, but with all rhythm games. So you're always tapping or swiping along the DS screen to a beat of some kind. And every mini game kind of has its own little story and cute little quirky song. So big recommend for me if you like rhythm games. One of the more unique ones out there.
I do like me some rhythm games.
I love them, and yeah, and it can definitely get pretty tough, especially if you want to get really good scores like perfects and stuff like that. You have to be very very precise. So yeah, definitely recommend checking out if you have a 3DS. Unfortunately, it did not get a physical release in America, which is a shame. Only got it in Europe and Japan. So if you want a American copy, nowadays you're gonna have to pirate it, but um, that's pretty easy to do. So, if you want to play it, there's a way.
Oh, you don't have a physical like foreign copy?
No, but I want to eventually. I want to import a copy because I have multiple Japanese 3DSs, so I'll have a way to play it physically if I ever want to.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Um, March 23rd, the following day, I finished up Bayonetta because I was doing a podcast for the game in March, and
Nice.
yeah, really honestly was not a big fan of Bayonetta 1. Um, it's pretty beloved. People love the heck out of that game,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know that I would play a sequel personally. Um,
So I think you should because Bayonetta 2 is a very big step up from Bayonetta 1 in my
that's
opinion.
good to know.
So I think it's still worth playing if you thought if you still at least enjoyed Bayonetta 1, then you'll like Bayonetta 2 because it's just a better game overall.
I probably play that on Wii U. I need to get a copy of that anyway.
Mhm. Yeah, Bayonetta 1 has a lot of kind of weird moments and pacing. But I think it does have one of the coolest final bosses in any game. So I always think back to that.
Yeah, there's no doubt that the freaking bosses, all the bosses were like disturbing,
Mhm.
but like super cool in Bayonetta.
Yeah, like cryptid angel kaijus, they're very very cool.
The music, I could not stand the music. That's probably a hot take, but it was not for me, man.
That's definitely a hot take, but music is subjective, so it's okay. That's funny.
Yeah,
All
it's a
right.
corny game, but they did it
Oh,
intentionally.
oh, definitely. It's inherently and very proudly Japanese, and Hideki Kamiya has talked about that in interviews in the past, being like, "This is not a game that could come out of an American studio," and there's something cool about that too. Something being so inherently tied to the culture made behind making it. So I respect that a lot.
Yeah.
All right, so next up for me, this one will make you proud. On February 12th, I have a lot of days where I just went hard, I guess. I beat Metroid Zero Mission.
Awesome.
Um, I thought it was very fun. Gorgeous sprite work. I'd love to play the original Metroid to kind of see the similarities of what they changed and what they kept the same. The one part of the game I thought was kind of annoying was honestly the part towards the end that they added that was new, where you're in the Zero suit for a while. I didn't think that was super fun, but other than that, I thought it was a very good game. Um, I don't think it's better than Super Dread, which are the other two 2D Metroids that I have beaten. Um, but still, definitely worth checking out if you're a fan of the series. I think it's held back just by being a remake of an NES game. Honestly, you kind of have to make it more simpler just because it's based off of uh, something so old.
I think that was a much needed remake because I'm playing the first one right now and it really does not hold up super well.
Oh, I'm sure it's rough because I don't even think the original has a map, right?
No map.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Yeah. That's cool getting some more
But
Metroid
yeah,
under your belt.
yes, I definitely want to make sure I beat Fusion this year because Fusion is a childhood game of mine that I wasn't able to beat as a kid, because I was a stupid kid. So hopefully this year I could beat that and Samus Returns, because that's definitely most likely the better version of Metroid 2 to play.
Yeah, if anything needed a remake, it was that.
All right, what you got next?
I played a little Metroidvania on April 6th called Hollow Knight.
Ooh, I've wanted to play that forever.
Is like a gorgeous game, super super cool and like dark story and just dark themes, and you're traveling through these dark caves. There's a lot of darkness. um,
It's so dark.
it was cool. It was super cool. This game took me years, just like Golf Story, to like sit down and force myself to get through. It's another game where like you don't want to take a break from it, because you're gonna forget where the heck you left off, and I think that was my issue with it. Um, I don't think that it knocked my socks off the way it did everyone else. I think it was a very solid game, and I liked it. I'm not like chomping at the bit waiting for this new Hollow Knight to come out like everybody else, but I'll probably play it. It was tough. People have said it's a tough game. It definitely is. The boss fights could be
Mm-hmm.
challenging. You definitely don't have like, I don't know, Metroid level health. You have limited hits, and you have to use your healing stuff pretty sparingly, and it's challenging, but I'm always down for a good challenge, and it's a solid game for sure. Would recommend.
Nice, yeah, that's been on my list for a long time. I've always loved how it looks aesthetically.
Yeah,
Um, so that's definitely one maybe I'll check out this year. Who knows? Next up, last game I beat in February, February 13th, was Kuru Kuru Kuru
ooh,
Rin. This is kind of an interesting, weird puzzle game, Game Boy Advance game I played on the Nintendo Switch Online because it launched when they added Game Boy Advance games to that. It's weird. You're like a rotating pole that has to rotate uh, uh, through basically a series of hallways to get from one point to another. Um, and it's definitely challenging. There are some levels that really made me angry, and at one point I was like, I don't know if I could beat this, but I was able to power through and finish it. It's a pretty short game, only maybe 2 hours took me to beat it, give or take. There's not too many levels, but it's a cute little game to kill, in an evening or over the weekend if you want to play. Um, didn't blow my socks off, but it's definitely unique. So,
I've always heard it's hard, and I have it on GBA in Japanese. I didn't buy the European copy for some strange reason, but
mm-hmm.
that's just like a cool little random Nintendo published title, and I think it's probably Nintendo developed as well, but um
Mm-hmm.
and it has like sequels in Japan. I'm pretty sure there's a GameCube
Yeah,
game.
there's a. Yeah, I was gonna say I have the GameCube game. There's a GameCube
That's
sequel
cool.
that I've always wanted to play. That was one of the first Japanese GameCube games I got because I remember back when I started collecting for GameCube and I decided that I wanted, just everything and anything. I was looking up like the best Japanese exclusive games. That was one of the ones that was like on every list. So I've had it for a long time. My copy's actually sealed, so maybe I'll just emulate it one day. That way I don't have to open it. But yeah, interesting little lesser known Nintendo series.
And I think it's actually the top down view of a helicopter. I think that's what that swinging pole is.
Oh, you see, and that would make sense. So okay, there you go. Mystery solved.
Think so.
All right, what you got
This is
next?
just a short little game I also beat on April 6th called The King of Dragons. It is,
Ooh.
um, I have the Capcom Beat 'em Up bundle, and I play that with a friend of mine
Oh.
co op online on PS4. It's a fun little bundle, just full of literally arcade beat 'em ups. And the problem that I have realized since, like, I go to a lot of arcades as an adult, and you find out that, like, when there is no money involved and every system is on every cabinet is on free play, you realize, wow, beat 'em ups suck. Like, beat 'em ups are boring as heck because the difficulty, quote unquote, is that you need to keep putting in quarters to continue. But when it's free play,
Mm-hmm.
you just freaking mash the punch button repeatedly, and it sucks. Um,
Yeah, and all those games are like half an hour
yeah,
long,
exactly.
so
So
super duper
your
short.
options are to like limit yourself to like X amount of lives, that like some arbitrary number you come up with, or you just freaking power through and mash the same button and just, I don't know. I'm really not a big fan of playing beat 'em ups that way. It's But I also don't want to play the same beat 'em up 40 times until I'm able to beat the game in 10 lives or less. Like that's also not something I'm
Yeah,
interested in. So there's just like no
yeah.
win for me. Um and for most people I would think. It's just like people people always hype up TMNT and X-Men, those big giant 6-player or 4-player arcade cabinets. It's like, yeah, it was great when you were freaking 15 and you were sucking like guzzling quarters into the machine, and now that you can just sit there and beat it, like you get bored so fast. That was
Yeah, it's definitely. I had that issue with a game that. Let's see, did I beat it last year? Yeah, I did. So I'll talk about it later. But it was a game that was an arcade game that got ported to modern consoles in a remaster form, and we beat it in like 25 minutes. And it was like, man, I thought this game was endless when I was a kid, but as soon as you get home and you don't have to keep paying to play, you're like, man, these games really don't have much substance to them.
so
It's very
this is a
interesting.
Capcom title from 1991, and it's got some very cool themes. But other than that, I can't even. It's so similar to the rest of the games on the bundle that I can't even pinpoint anything else about it that was like different enough that it sticks out in my mind.
Jeez,
But
that's funny.
I would say check out the Capcom Beat 'em Up bundle if it's on sale, and you like you can still have fun with those games playing cooperatively. I would not recommend sitting
Oh,
there
I'm
by
sure.
yourself and just like it's super boring that way.
Just mashing A for 45 minutes at a time.
Like something like Streets of Rage, it was never. I mean, it was probably an arcade game, but the fact that like the Genesis version limits you to however many lives and continues,
Mm-hmm.
there's some. It's not just mashing B until you get to the end. I like that a lot.
Yeah, you have to try more because there's a
Right.
limit to how much you can try to cheese it. All right, so next up for me, I will say, of course, that I did have to use save states, but I'm still proud because it's a very hard game, and I beat Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link on
Whoa.
March 1st. Yeah, so like I said, I use save states, so I know that makes it not as like impressive, but it's such a hard game. I don't care, man. Zelda 2 is very hard and very cool though. I think that it definitely gets way more hate than it deserves. I would argue that it's uh, at least as good as Zelda 1 because a lot of people say that Zelda 1 is so much better, but I'm like, both games are super obtuse and they really don't make any fucking sense unless you have a guide. So I don't feel bad for saying that Zelda 1 is also just as stupid in that way. But it's definitely harder combat wise, but it has some great music, some interesting sprite work. It's definitely the black sheep of Zelda, as everybody knows. But if you are a fan of Zelda, it's still worth checking out. Uh, and I would semi recommend only because of how infuriatingly difficult some of the bosses are.
I've never played that game.
It's definitely different, but I like the idea of like kind of the top down overworld and then the side scrolling dungeons and towns. It gives it a very unique feel that no other game really has. So especially since I know you appreciate old games like I do, I think that you would enjoy it just because there's not really anything else like it. There's a I wish I could remember the name because there is an indie game coming out that's very inspired by Zelda 2, and I thought that it was super cool that somebody's taking that formula and trying to kind of modernize it, but I don't remember off the top of my
Hmm.
head. Um, I'll try to look it up in post and put the title on screen because I want to give them a shout out. But yeah, Zelda 2. Uh, it was a rough time.
Yeah, I'll be experiencing it someday, but I'm not in a rush.
Yes, definitely. Yes, it's one of the few Zelda games I haven't beaten yet. All that I have left in terms of mainline Zelda that I haven't beaten is the Oracle games and the 2DS games. So I'm just about caught up with every Zelda that's ever released. Oh, and I haven't beaten Tears of the Kingdom yet, but that'll probably happen pretty soon because I'm over halfway through the game.
We will be getting to that one very soon.
Ooh.
But first, I gotta tell you about this amazing Game Boy Advance game, Crash Bandicoot 2 Entranced. Amazing
Ooh.
might be a little bit of a stretch, but I really enjoyed my time with this game. As a fan of freaking 2D platformers over 3D platformers, like, I love the Crash trilogy. I love Wrath of Cortex as well. Like, people need to get on Wrath
Mhm.
of Cortex. That is a great follow up to the original trilogy. But um, Crash 2 Entranced on the GBA, it's literally, it feels so much like the PlayStation games just in 2D format. They did a killer job. It's not even Naughty Dog. It's just, I don't even know who developed this game, but it's, they did such a good job of capturing that Crash Bandicoot feel, and it's got a killer soundtrack. Um, there was a pre-order bonus where you could actually get the soundtrack on a CD, which is sick. So you should definitely go listen to that on YouTube. That is out there. And anyways, great game, great soundtrack. Would recommend. It got pretty annoying and challenging at the end, but it is what it is. It's not an easy game. The original trilogy wasn't easy. Um,
Hell no.
would recommend for sure.
Yes, the Game Boy Advance games are underrated for sure. Obviously they're not like as good as the PS1 trilogy or anything like that, but they're definitely worth checking out. I think they're both a very good time for sure. I'm glad you got around to playing that. All right, next up for me, I have one of the worst games ever made. I will stand by that statement. On March 12th, I beat Altered Beast. Talk about short games. You could beat Altered Beast in like 10 minutes. It is so short. It is so stupid. Everything about it is bad, but that's also kind of why I love it. It's like when you watch like a really crappy B movie like Sharknado or something stupid like that, where it's like everything about it's really not, nothing about it is good, but it's entertaining because of how bad it is. The soundtrack is terrible. Everything sounds grainy. Everything looks grainy and ugly. The level design is atrocious. All the power ups look stupid. But man, if it ain't a good 10 minutes of serotonin.
Isn't it hard as nails?
It's really not that hard. I
Really?
remember thinking it was tough when I was a kid, but I probably beat it on like my third or fourth try when I decided to just like buckle down and be like, I'm gonna beat it tonight. It wasn't really that bad, so, but it's also not worth it. So it is a hard not recommend from me, but it's a game that I played a lot with my dad as a kid on the Dreamcast collection
Mm,
of like old Sega games on there. So it was kind of cathartic to go through and finally beat it just because it was a childhood game that I never got to finish.
that's cool.
Yep.
And that's one they brought to GBA. I don't know if it's a remake or a port, but
Whatever it is, just stay away just in case.
um, I played. I finished my first game in May 6th, Far Cry 6. Um,
Hmm.
this is a game I purchased with my Series X, like pretty soon after getting my Series X, and I was like looking for something that I could just, like, I didn't have all of Game Pass. I don't know why felt the need to go buy a game, but I was like, I need to go buy a game for this thing and put a disc in it.
That's funny.
Um, and I remember thinking for a while that Far Cry 6 looked pretty sick. You know, it had like a famous actor, Giancarlo, whatever his name is. Um,
Hmm.
and I'd never played Far Cry as a series. I'd never played it, and like, I don't know how I feel about like open world. Um, I find myself not being a huge fan of open world stuff. I find myself sticking to the story, not doing side quests, and um, that's not entirely true. We'll talk about Zelda in a minute, but like that is true for a lot of things. It was true for Red Dead for me. Um, but still sticking to the story, just playing the main stuff and not doing a whole bunch of side stuff. I still really enjoyed it. I think Far Cry 6 was solid. The story is very good. You know, it was like a probably $1 million Ubisoft title, and it shows for sure. It played really well, and the voice acting was solid. Characters were memorable. It was a good time. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I've been interested in Far Cry for a long time, but I really have to be in the mood for those just massive open world games.
Yeah,
So I don't know if I'll ever get around to them. But and it's always kind of cool when you see like really neat Hollywood actors in games.
yeah,
Um, I feel like we're getting almost too much of it now, honestly, because I feel like put some respect towards the video game actors that we've had and been using for many years as well. But still cool to see, and I'm glad you enjoyed it for what it was. Do you think you'll go back and try any of the other Far
yeah. I
Cries?
don't think I would, Craig. Honestly,
No,
if they came
you didn't
out,
like it
if they
enough.
came out with a Far Cry 7, I don't think I would be picking it up. Um, maybe on like my quest to like play historic titles, I might play like the one that everybody says is like, oh my gosh, amazing. It's probably like 3 or
Yeah,
something.
people love 3.
Yeah,
Yeah, people love Far Cry 3. So
I might play that one someday.
cool, cool. All right, next up for me, a great game, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Nice.
So if you beat every game or every track on Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, the credits play. So I was like, I guess I've technically beaten this game, so I counted it. That was on March 13th. Not much to say about Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. It's not my favorite. Double Dash is still my favorite, but Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is definitely a close second. And I mean, everyone loves this game, so I don't really think I gotta to tune his praises. I plan on playing through all the DLC that came out for it this year. But yeah, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Everybody loves it, so
It counts. Counts as a game beaten.
it counts. It counts.
I played a really horrible game. It's called Croc Legend of the Gobos.
How dare you?
I've never experienced tank controls until I played this game, and I can't tell you guys to stay away from this game. Don't touch it with a 10-foot pole. Um, Dude, anytime somebody brings up Croc or posts it on like Twitter or something, people flood the comments with like, "Holy crap, I love that game." No, you didn't love it. You don't love it now. You need to just keep those memories. That's fine. Just keep those nostalgic
Mm-hmm.
memories, thinking it's a fantastic game. Don't go back and play it. It's a piece of garbage.
Dude, I wish I did because I loved it as a child. I loved it so much. I had that. That was like, everyone had Spyro and Crash and stuff like that as a kid. I had Croc, and I loved Croc as a child. And then when I got older and, I got a job, I went to an old record store in Arizona, good old Zia Records, and they had a copy of Croc, and I was like, I love this game as a kid. So I bought it, and I went home and I started playing it, and I was like, man, this thing sucks. And it makes me sad because I don't think I ever actually beat it, and it's like I don't have the patience to deal with it now. I can't believe that there isn't like a fan made like ROM hack of the game that changes the controls to just be like regular 3D platformer controls. How has nobody done some sort of weird hack like that by now? Because it's so beloved by so many people, but nobody actually likes it because of the crappy controls. So
I wouldn't be
it's a
surprised if that
shame.
exists.
Dude, the music though, prime, and the aesthetics prime. It is a gorgeous game and the music is fantastic. It just sucks to actually
That's
play.
one of the cutest freaking characters in video games, man. Croc is adorable.
Oh my god, yeah. And the noises he makes when he slaps things, he's like, Kazoo! I love him. I absolutely love
Yeah,
him.
he's cool. His game sucks though.
Alright, so, yeah. Next game I have, this one also, I probably shouldn't even be on the list, but I'm counting it because it's a game and I beat it. It is called Otosan 3DS Edition. I beat it on 3/26/23. The tagline for this game is "Don't buy this game." And you know why? Because it is 15 seconds
Oh
long.
my gosh.
Um, it's made by the same people who made Fragrance Story, so take that for what you will. All you do is you hit A 3 times when you see the character on the screen for 3 levels, and then it's over. Otasan is a game that is supposed to be eventually a Earthbound inspired JRPG. Um, he said that he put this game out for a reason on 3DS. The reason I don't know why, but it did release, and I decided to play it just because, and I didn't know that it was a 15-second game. So I beat it, and I was like, well, I was like, this counts as a game beaten, but I was like, it barely quantifies as a video game, so whatever. So that was the last game that I beat in March.
So they're planning an update that's going to be so big that it's a complete like huge RPG.
I don't know. I mean, that's what they did with Fragrant Story. I think Odasan is supposed to just be something else completely when it's done. I think it was kind of just like it must have been just some sort of weird proof of concept thing for somebody, but I feel bad for anybody that spent money on it.
That's
So
hilarious.
yeah, yeah,
All right, I did beat Zelda, so I guess I'll be the one talking about Tears of the Kingdom here.
all right,
I beat it on June 19th, and that's like less than a
nice.
month or like roughly a month after the game came out.
Wow, you went
I
ham.
had to go ham to fit it in time to record a podcast in June, and
Mm,
um, it was an incredible game. You know, nobody's gonna argue that, or I guess people do argue that. People are weird, but it was a fantastic game. I
mm-hmm.
just was talking about open world games and how I usually just go straight through them. Um, and that's actually what I did on the first Zelda. What is it called? Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the
That's
Wild.
exactly what I
Mm-hmm.
did. Barely did shrines. You know, barely. I don't know. I've had issues over the last few years of just being like, okay, I will play through this game, but I have 100 other things I need to get to. Let me just skim right
Mm-hmm.
through it. Just do the main necessary stuff. Um, so between like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, I feel like I've tried to get away from that in that 6 year gap, and um, I've definitely been doing a better job of like sitting here and enjoying the game that I'm playing. And with Tears of the Kingdom, I put 100 hours in and took my time with it. You know, I wouldn't have finished the game that
Mm-hmm.
quick if I didn't have to do the podcast. So I
Mm-hmm.
loved it. I loved exploring. Not a big builder myself. Like I think it's sick that you can just build whatever freaking Lego
Mm-hmm.
thing you want in this game,
Oh yeah,
I never even got the auto build. I played the whole game without it. um,
that's fun.
but not like intentionally. I wasn't like trying to put a freaking handicap on myself or whatever. But I was like, I just never found out where you could get it, and I didn't want to Google it. But
That's fair.
the underground, I did not explore as much as I should have. I think it would have been better with auto build if I just had a car that I could easily build at any point. That would have been nice. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but you know what? That game, I haven't played it in like several months, but that game I can go back to that for years and years and still have so much stuff to do, and I absolutely will. That's a game I'll be going back to. You guys don't need to hear any more about Tears of the Kingdom than I'm sure you already have for the last 8 months, but I loved it, and I'm sure you are loving it too, Craig.
Yeah, I'm glad you liked it. I do like it. Not as much as everyone else. But I do think it is a very good game. It's a very sophisticated and well crafted game. Unfortunately, I'm just one of those people that's just like I'm old man yelling at cloud. I miss the old Zelda, but I do think that it's an improvement from Breath of the Wild, and I do still enjoy it. I just I prefer Zelda to be more like what it has been for the many entries before Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, but I totally respect people liking it for what it is now, and it is, like I said, very well crafted. I have nothing really against the way that the game plays or the way that it wants to be. And like I said, I'm enjoying Tears of the Kingdom more than I enjoyed Breath of the Wild. So I am looking forward to going back to it and eventually finishing it. Um, I think I finished 3 of the dungeons, or I'm almost done with the third dungeon, something like that. So I've made some good headway in there.
Nice.
Um, yeah, so I'm planning on getting that one back to that one eventually. But like you said, the entire world has been praising this game for months and months. So you've all heard everything there is to say about it anyway.
Was definitely
Next up for me,
I mean, yeah, it
oh
was a
yeah,
game of the year contender and everything.
was it your game of the year?
Yeah, I didn't want to spoil it if you were going to ask me at the end, but I would say it was my
That's
2023 game of
okay.
the year for sure.
Yeah, it was most people's. So, but I'm glad you enjoyed it so much. That makes me happy to
Heck
hear.
yeah.
Next up for me, on April 18th, I beat Super Street Fighter 4 3D edition. So the port of Super Street Fighter 4 for the 3DS. I don't have a lot of experience with Street Fighter. I've played a lot of 2 and 5 sporadically throughout the years. Um, but never got super duper into the series. The only version I've played of Street Fighter 4 was the 3DS edition, and I had a good time with it. I played as my girl Cammy. She's always my main whenever I play Street Fighter, and not really too much to say honestly. I'm more of a Mortal Kombat and Smash Bros. Guy when it comes to fighting games, but I still have a lot of respect for Street Fighter in terms of what it's done for video games and the staying power that it's had. So, shout out to Street Fighter.
Those are always like, pretty easy, short little campaigns you can run through.
Hmm. But they're always a good
Yeah.
time. It's like junk food games, you know. Like it's nothing spectacular, but you always have a good time with it, and you're never
Yep.
disappointed once you're done with it either.
Next was a 3DS game for me as well, Yoshi's New Island.
Nice. Ooh, so I've heard mostly negative things about this game, but I remember you saying that you liked it, so I'm curious to hear what you have to say.
I can't even imagine why somebody would complain about this game. I mean, I don't have a whole lot. I don't have any groundbreaking things to say about it. It was just like a great Yoshi game, and it a
Hmm.
felt like a sequel to Yoshi's Island on Super Nintendo. Um, I have played Crafted World, Woolly World. I've pretty much played all the Yoshis, I think, and it just felt like another
Hmm.
great entry. This was
Interesting.
the
Yeah, I want to check it out because, like I said, I've heard mostly negative things, but you were pretty high on it when you beat it, so that made me wanna
I've
play
been
it.
trying to do like this bedtime gaming thing lately, and I did
Mm.
a lot of that in 2023. And Yoshi's New Island was just like a handheld, easy play a level or two until you're falling asleep type of game, and I mean, it's perfect for that. And, it's adorable. It's not too easy and not too difficult. Is a good level there. I need to watch a video and see why people hate on it because I don't know, man.
I don't know, and it could be me, maybe me just remembering friends from when I was younger not liking it, and that being a bit of an echo chamber for me. But I just remember people not being too high on it, so I definitely need to check it out. But I've never played through all of the original Yoshi's Island either, so I should probably do that first anyway. That's an essential title that I've missed out on
Essential, yeah.
for sure. So next up for me, also on April 18th, was I played through Super Monkey Ball 3D. Like many people, I love Monkey Ball 1 and 2 on the GameCube. Um, Super Monkey Ball 3D is possibly the most forgettable game I've ever played. If you were to ask me the theme of one world in that game, I couldn't tell you. Gun to my head, I would have no idea. So, just based off of that, I have to give it a not recommend because literally I don't remember the game. I beat it and I don't remember it. So,
Man.
and I was also able to beat it in one day. So it's not very long. So I guess if you really want to know, but it's like I've played Banana Blitz. I played the special one that came out either last year or the year before on Switch, Xbox, and PS5. That was like kind of a mixture of one and two. I played the Vita game, and all those have great levels, good memorable things, good merits. But Super Monkey Ball 3D, squat. I got nothing. So don't even bother.
You ever play Junior?
Yeah, I do not like that one either. Like it's cool because it exists, but it is an atrocious game to
Is
play.
it just bad because it's on a D-pad or what?
it's exactly the problem is that it's too that game is just not designed around D-pad, so it's impossible to be precise in the way that you have to be for Monkey Ball.
I think Junior's the only handheld one I have, and I was trying to think like, man, that'd be a great bedtime game, but maybe not that one.
Hey man, buy yourself a Vita and play the Vita one.
um, I got Sonic Origins this year, Sonic Origins Plus. I was very excited
Mm.
that this was getting a physical release and just
Mm-hmm.
being able to have those freaking Game Gear games. Unfortunately, they were download code, but whatever. I still
Mm.
sort of have them physically. Um, I played through Sonic the Hedgehog 1, so I guess I just kind of wanted to experience what they had done in anniversary mode on this Origins collection, and it was it was definitely like quality of life improvements, and it was like I guess it made the game easier because I died enough times that I would have had to start the entire game over, but they don't do that crap for the modern, re-release of this game. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I think it probably fixes some of the issues that maybe you have from when we were talking about it earlier. Um,
Yeah, it's just, a lot of old Sonic has kind of unfair death pits and different things
for
like
sure.
that. So just a lot of frustration in that way. I'm really not. I'm not a total Sonic One hater. I think overall it's like not a very strong game, especially compared to two and three and Knuckles and Mania and basically almost any other 2D Sonic game except for Sonic 4. Um, but it does have some very good memorable levels, some very good music, some fun boss fights. So it's still definitely worth playing today, especially if you are a Sonic fan that hasn't played a lot of the older stuff. It's cool to see where it came from.
I think yeah, I don't know what I was gonna say, but I've played the original multiple times before, so I just wanted to check out the anniversary mode, and it's pretty cool. We'll definitely
Mm-hmm.
be playing through some Game Gear titles on that collection, though.
Heck yeah, you should. I love Triple Trouble, so I'm very excited to see what you think of that one,
Nice.
especially. Next up for me, on April 25th, I beat Resident Evil 4 Remake. I am a a strong champion for the original Resident Evil 4. Even though it's not a personal favorite game of mine, like it would be in like a top probably 25-30 range if I were to make a big long list. But I think it is objectively one of the greatest games ever made. Is pretty flawless, and somehow they made a flawless game even better. I love Resident Evil 4 Remake. I think they did such a good job modernizing everything. The little things that they added and took away, I think, were all very good choices. The voice acting is fun and still a little campy. I don't know, just everything about it. Modern Resident Evil is just so on point. All of the modern Resident Evil games are so good. And 4 is probably the best Resident Evil, in my opinion. So, a heavy, heavy recommend from me if you have not played either the original or the remake. I actually think it's worth playing both, even if you play them back to back, because you could beat both of them in under 10 hours. So, uh, heavy recommend from me.
I played 4 original on the PS4, like an HD port or whatever. Um, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
pretty incredible game for sure. The remake, I've watched a friend play a lot of it. It is super
Mm-hmm.
cool. They are really killing it.
It's
Yeah.
gorgeous. Yes. Capcom has been on their A game for many years now. They're definitely one of the best developers in the game right now.
And I'm sure, I think I heard recently that more Resident Evil remakes are coming, which, I mean, we're getting pretty modern now at this point.
Well, yeah, because it's like they either go back to 0, 1 in Code Veronica, or then they hit 5, which is like 360
Right.
era. So it's like they're gonna start catching up quick. But I mean, I'd imagine Resident Evil 9 would come out before another remake because they've been alternating kinda. But we'll see. Who knows?
Next up was. Ooh, a little bit of a disappointing one. My first July game was Trinity Trigger on July 8th.
Oh, you didn't like that one, huh?
Big Mana fan here, and
Mm-hmm.
this. This game was a Switch and PS4 release. I think it's on PS4. Um, they
Mm-hmm.
they said that it was going to. Oh, it's probably on PS5 as well. But they said it was going to be like, hey, we got this guy who worked on Chrono Trigger. We got this guy that did this for Trials of Mana, and we got this guy from Pokemon, and we're gonna make this incredible RPG. It was probably 20 hours long, which is perfect for me.
Mm-hmm.
It was so repetitive. I wasn't a big fan of the combat. The boss fights were so just freaking mashing the button, trying like just very little skill involved. It was kind of a mess. I don't know, man. I had higher hopes for it, and it was a gift. I think that game released last year. Yeah, that was a 2023 release. I think if you get it real cheap on sale, if you got 20 hours to throw away, you could totally play it, or you could go play literally any of the games from Collection of Mana, which is also on Switch. The Trials of Mana remake. There's a lot of stuff you could probably play and spend your time better on. I'm gonna say not recommend.
Good to know because I was curious about that one.
It has like this
Good
really
to
cool
know.
box set if you're a physical person. Like, man, pass.
Well, good to know. As unfortunate as it is, that is good to know. All right, so um, let's see. So the next three I'm gonna talk about all at once, just because it is three consecutive games in the same series. So on April 30th, I beat Final Fantasy. On May 3rd, I beat Final Fantasy 2, and on May 7th, I beat Final Fantasy
Oh,
3. So I went a little crazy over like a week period, just going through old Final Fantasy. As people may know, the Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster Collection came out on PS4 and Switch. They this year, um, and that is Final Fantasy 1 through 6 modernized, basically, still all pixel art, but kind of in a similar style to one another, with some quality of life enhancements. You could double the XP you get from battles, the money you get from battles, turn off random encounters, all those kinds of different things. So I played through 1, 2, and 3 consecutively because I wanted to marathon. I wanted to marathon all of them, but in this case, I marathoned the three NES games all in a row, pretty close to each other. Um, if I had to rank them from my enjoyment, it would go 3, 2, 1. Actually, uh, 3 is the biggest and most ambitious of all of them. It has a really big class system where you could pick between like 20 to 30 classes, I think, throughout the game, and they all have an individual level attached to each character separate from that character's level, so it gets super deep with all the different numbers and customization, and that's really cool. But I found the world and the story to be the most kind of dull out of all of them, and the music to be just okay, all those different things. The final dungeon was super hard and long, uh, but I don't know, just overall, I still enjoyed it, but it was my least favorite. 2 was cool because it had a pretty dark and interesting story, especially for its time, being how old the game is. It really is one of the first video games with like a true big narrative, which is cool. So from a historical perspective, I respect 2 a lot. And it had an interesting leveling system where each stat was individual. So like your HP wouldn't level up at all if you didn't take damage that battle. So
oh
it's
wow,
a your fire magic wouldn't be more powerful unless you use fire magic that battle, stuff like that.
interesting.
So each thing leveled up individually. Yeah, and a lot of people hate that. I thought it was kind of cool because it's like you could truly build whatever character you want that way. So it's like, it might be annoying that you didn't get any health level, like your HP didn't go higher because you didn't take any damage that round. But it's like, if you want, you can kind of play the game in your own way, and you could beat up your own characters so that they take damage and almost die, and then you kill the enemy, and then your health levels up like crazy at the end of the match because you're beating yourself up. So there's a lot of weird little quirky ways to play the game, and I just thought it was fun. And then Final Fantasy 1, obviously the original, the most simple, the least complex. It has almost no story, but that's kind of what makes it special because The way that I've described it to people when I tell people I love that game, they're like, "Really? Like Final Fantasy 1?" I'm like, "Imagine the first ever time you played D&D with your friends. That's what it feels like. It feels like an old game of D&D with your buddies. Very simple, very easy to kind of place yourself into the game. Um, it's super short. You could beat it in under 10 hours. Uh, and I don't know. I just think it's such a fun time. There's something very cozy about how basic it is, and I don't know. It means a lot to me. I think it's very special. So, yeah. Shout outs to Final Fantasy 1 through 3. That was that was a wild week of
That's
gaming I
crazy.
did to beat all of those within like yeah like a 9 day
Did you
period.
put them on like 2x speed?
Yes, because you can speed up a lot of
Yeah.
stuff. So I did definitely use that feature. And I would also like to mention I got the platinum trophy in all of them, so I 100%ed all 3 games as well.
I would love to own that collection physically. I'm a big fan of
Yes.
owning physical collections, especially for things that were foreign exclusives. Like I'm assuming Final
Mm-hmm.
Fantasy 1 and 2 were, not in America until the GBA or something.
So weirdly enough, 1 was in America. It came out, and then 2 didn't get released until there was a collection on PS1, and then 3 has only been released as a 3D remake on mobile and DS in America until this collection. So this collection that we got this year in the PC and mobile version last year was the first time they've actually released a 2D version of 3 in America ever. So kind of interesting.
Were you one of the lucky people that got that physically?
No, I did not, unfortunately, and it's mad. I'm mad at myself because I had the pre-order in my cart for the PS4 version because it didn't sell out. But at the time I was like, I don't want to spend $80 on a collection of older games. I was like, I'll just pass. And now it's like like a $900 game on Switch and PS4. But if you don't care about it being NTSC, you can get a an Asian copy that plays in English for a fraction of the price, and it doesn't have any writing on it really indicating like it just doesn't have an ESRB logo on the front. So you could get it affordably if you don't mind that, but other than that, it's like one of the most expensive modern games by a country mile. It's crazy.
You weren't exaggerating when you said $900.
No,
I don't know why Square didn't
it's really
print
expensive.
more of that.
Make more. I know because it's like clearly it's in demand. They have to know, but I guess they just don't
Very
care.
strange
It's
and
pretty crazy.
weird just scenario there.
I know. So yeah. Uh, if you don't mind going digital, I think you would appreciate these games from a historical perspective if you ever feel like
Yeah, I
playing them.
think that's worth the purchase for sure.
Mm-hmm. And even getting it digitally for like I think it was like 75-80 bucks. It's like totally worth it, honestly. Collection of 6 of the greatest games of all time. So
It is an $80 digital purchase.
yeah,
Wow.
because it's. But if you buy them all individually, it's like way more than that. So it's still cheaper to get the bundle that
Yeah.
way.
Man, Square, they don't mess around, man. They know y'all are
Hey, they know what
buying their stuff.
yeah. Well, and I mean, I'm in a way, I'm like, you know what? They know what their product is worth, and they're standing by it. So I kind of
Yeah.
respect it. All right, I rambled for a while. What you got
I got a
next?
really short one. I had Ninja Turtles Turtles in Time, but not the cool one on
Nice.
Super Nintendo. This is another collection I bought this past year or maybe the year before, but it was that Cowabunga collection.
Mm.
It's like 13 games on that thing. A lot of them are like super expensive to own physically, and I live for that crap. Like I just said, I love buying collections on modern platforms, and
Mm.
um, well, I think this is Digital Eclipse, and they just always kill it with their re-releases, their ports and stuff. They go so in depth and making stuff perfect and um, graphically, the sound. They do everything they have to make it just a perfect experience. Um, But I played the arcade version because I had Hannah over actually. She was visiting from Florida, and she and I just like sat down and freaking knocked out Turtles in Time with unlimited continues with no quarters required, and um, it's a good time. I don't know how much it differs from the Super Nintendo title, but once again, it's the same issue we were talking about with the King of Dragons, where it's just unlimited continues, mashing buttons until it's over, and it was fine.
Nice and easy.
Yeah.
Cool, cool. Yeah, I haven't played any of those turtle games, so I'd like to eventually. Next up for me, a Final Fantasy game, but a spin-off. So another rhythm game, Theater Rhythm Final
Oh,
Fantasy on the 3DS. I had a good time with it. It's a quirky little rhythm game, pretty simple overall. It's kind of cool because it has like three different styles of rhythm games. For each game. So it's like Final Fantasy 1 through, I believe it goes up to 13. And each game has three songs that it takes from it. And then each song has a different style of rhythm game. Like one of them is tapping up and down on the screen, one of them's kind of dragging your stylus along the screen. And then I don't remember the other style. But it was a cute little time. Obviously, Final Fantasy music is some of the best and most iconic music in all of gaming. So I had a good time, and it was a good little interstitial between playing another mainline Final Fantasy game afterwards because, obviously I was knee deep in the series at the time, so I just kind of felt like swimming in something else related, but not another mainline game.
I'm intrigued by that, especially the Switch one that came out. Um, I
Mm-hmm.
saw they added mana music, which was super cool. Um,
Yeah, I think they have some mana, some Kingdom Hearts, so and some Chrono Trigger, so they added some other stuff. It's definitely on my list. I've been waiting for that one to go on
sounds
sale.
like it'd be more fun with a touchscreen and a stylus than a controller.
Yeah, I mean, I think rhythm games are great on DS and 3DS. Like, I think about Elite Beat Agents all the time, one of my favorite games ever. And you couldn't play that on anything but a DS.
Next, I played a GBA game called Pocky and Rocky with Becky.
Mm,
This is one of the most expensive games on the GBA, but I got it on Wii U before the eShop closed.
there you go.
And I've always been intrigued by Pocky and Rocky. I got the reshrined version. Pocky and Rocky Reshrined came out on Switch and PS4 a couple years ago, and
Mm-hmm.
that was a good time. And then I played Pocky and Rocky with Becky, and it's a good time. They've always looked incredible on YouTube. Like, holy crap, I see why it's so expensive. It's an incredible game. I'm like playing these now. I'm like, I mean, it's all right. It's
I think it's
the
okay.
the genre of just like running around and shooting stuff and going through a level is like it's I mean, I don't know a ton of games in that genre or whatever. I don't know if it would be a genre, but like it's almost like a shmup, but you're running around on foot, and it's unique in
Mm-hmm.
that sense. But I don't know, they're tough, and they they're usually pretty short, so it's okay that it's tough. But I don't know. I don't even know what I'm saying. It's just it doesn't stick super well with me personally.
Mm. Interesting. Yeah, I thought that would have been a series you were more into for some reason. But yeah, from the outside, I always thought that they looked kind of neat. You don't think you'd recommend it though?
Mm, I'm gonna say no.
No to Punky and Rocky with Becky.
Still need to play the
All
original
right,
too.
so on. No, yeah, you should. Definitely probably worth checking out at least. So on May 19th, I played through Final Fantasy IV. So my Final Fantasy marathon continued. 4 is a very big and epic game for its time. Definitely one of the JRPG greats, just overall, period. Has a fantastic cast of memorable and interesting characters. Has a very dark and sad story for being technically a children's game, back in the 90s. Um, It is what introduced Final Fantasy to the active time battle system, which is not quite turn based, but semi turn based. For those of you that don't know, so it's like a meter is filling up, and then once your meter is full, you could take an
Hmm.
action. So you kind of got to manage that, and depending on the speed of your character, the meter fills up faster or slower. But yeah, it has some incredible music, a lot of cool optional content, a lot of interesting and cool story beats, a lot of stuff that I didn't see coming. So it holds up super duper well, and if you're a JRPG fan, in my opinion, it is a must play.
What a year for Craig and Final Fantasy.
God, I know. Well, in spoilers, I think there's at least one or two more Final Fantasies on here. So I went pretty nuts with Final Fantasy last year. It was a
That's
fun time.
awesome.
Yeah. So what you got
Another
next?
bedtime game. It was New Super Mario Brothers 2. Um, I
Nice.
went in with low expectations. I've heard that it's dirt easy, and it's just like, I just said dirt easy. That's a new one. Um, it's like this game that's got like coins is the gimmick, and it's like because of that you're just unlimited lives in this game, and honestly, I enjoyed it. This game gets a lot of hate in the new Super Mario Brothers series, and um, I don't know. I like 2D Mario. This was 2D Mario. It was a good time. I think out of all of them, it's probably my least favorite, but it was still good. So would recommend.
Good to know. Yeah, I've been wanting to check it out. Obviously, all the new Super Mario games are kind of samey in a way, but I've always loved, especially the original New Super Mario Bros. On
Yeah, me
DS.
too.
So I've wanted to check out two on the 3DS for a while. So maybe I'll check that out this year because that definitely seems like you said, a good bedtime game. You know, something to just chip away at a little bit at a time each
Absolutely.
night. Sweet. Next up for me, um, a bit of a older indie game that I missed out on when it first came out, but Bloodstained: Curse of the Moon.
Oh,
So that is like the 2D Castlevania 3 style game that came out before the big Bloodstained game that a lot of people know. That's more like Symphony of the Night. And I thought it was fantastic. Some of the most beautiful sprite work I've ever seen in a game. All of the characters played very differently from one another. Is very unique, pretty challenging. Uh, I say it's unique, but it really is a total ripoff of Castlevania 3. But I mean, in the best way possible, because it's such a fantastic and fun time. If you like, NES style, kind of like harder, but honestly doable games, because it was hard, but I suck at video games, so if I could beat it, probably most people could with a little bit of practice. It's a definite recommend from me. Another great shorter game. And eventually, I would like to play the second one because they did make a Curse of the Moon too, but that is not a 3DS game, and I don't know. It's the kind of game that I like to play portably, so I'll get to it
I didn't know
eventually.
Curse of the Moon was on 3DS.
Yes, it
Yeah, I
is.
played that.
Has no reason to be. The second screen doesn't do anything. It just has a logo on the bottom the entire time. But I don't know. It was just a great handheld game, and it made me wish that the second one was handheld as well. But beggars can't be choosers. So eventually, I'll just man up and play it on PS4 and
I'm
5 or
sure it's
whatever.
on Switch, man.
That's true. That's true. For some reason, I still forget that the Switch is a handheld after however many years still. So
I loved that game. I played it before I even played any Castlevania games. Um,
that's
but
cool.
yeah, I need to play the second one as well when it becomes on sale on any platform, really.
That'd probably be a good stream game for you. That'd probably be a good one to do on
Yep.
stream.
I also have Ritual, and I have not played that one either.
Mm. Yeah, maybe we should both check that out this year. A little game for us to play
I'm
together.
down.
Sweet.
I played Sonic CD also on the Sonic Origins collection.
Ooh.
Um, why don't I remember playing this game?
Cause it's not good.
Man, I don't even feel like I played that this year. So the time
It
travel stuff was weird as heck.
Yeah, it's honestly one of my least favorite Sonic games. I think that it's very overrated personally.
I don't even remember it, Craig. Man,
I mean, I think that
I
says a lot.
guess I'm gonna say I'm neutral on whether you should play it or not. It's crazy. I just remember specifically
That's funny.
that the time travel. I was reading the manual trying to understand the time travel, and it didn't make any freaking sense to me.
It's a very experimental game, so I appreciate it for trying to be creative, but it was not my favorite for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. We can move on.
All right, next up for me, I have a very weird one. I randomly decided to download and purchase all the levels of Super Mario Run on my iPhone. So I played through Super Mario Run. Um, wouldn't recommend. It's just fine. I mean, it's a new Super Mario game, except it's an auto runner and you tap when to jump. That's basically all there is to it. So, um, not really too much to say, honestly. It's probably the worst 2D Mario game just because it feels so uninspired. But there's not really anything wrong with it. I mean, it's still a Mario game, so it's still good. But I feel like, uh, Mario just doesn't really lend itself to the auto run genre. So it's like, just tapping to jump. It's like, it felt like the game was really kind of just playing itself mostly. So it was, it was fine. It was a way to, kill a couple of lunch breaks at work. That was about it.
I could see myself knocking out that game before bed.
Exactly.
Huh. Um, I played Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga this year. Finished it July
Ooh.
25th. I did a whole podcast on this game as well this year, and I pretty much said that it is near perfect. Like, there's not a lot that I had to say negative about this game. Um, I forget what I did specifically, but what the way that I leveled up my characters, I really screwed myself for the final boss, and like I couldn't have predicted it.
That's funny.
And I forget what happened exactly, but I ended up streaming the final boss for like 4 hours, and I literally could not beat it. And
Oh
I
my
ended up
god.
finishing the stream, not beating it. Had to do it on my own time, and I left that game with a bad taste in my mouth because of that. But I had to be honest, and that game is very much near perfect. Like, it is a very solid RPG. It is hilarious with the typical Paper Mario, Mario and Luigi like humor that they always have in there, and
Mm-hmm.
it runs great. It plays great. It's aged super well. It sounds great. It looks great. It's a great game.
Cool. Yeah, I think it's a fantastic game as well. Super fun. I like to play the game, and I made it very hard on myself because I every time I leveled up, I put my bonus stat into mustache for every single level up. So definitely not the best way to play the game, but it's a fun way to play it to challenge yourself. I got a lot of critical hits though, so I was knocking out enemies left
Nice.
and right. It was a great time. So I changed my mind. I do recommend playing it that way. That was a lot of fun. All right, so this is me ending off May, my biggest month or second biggest month of the year because I beat 7 games that month, and on May 30th I beat Sonic Advanced. This was another childhood game of mine that I actually never beat, so I was excited to go through it again and actually
Nice.
finish it. It is a very fun time. Has unfortunately a lot of typical stupid unfair Sonic death pits where you die sometimes. It really feels like it wasn't your fault. But I really like the sprite work in the game. It was cool to see them kind of take like the adventure style characters and put them into that kind of environment of 2D sprite work. A lot of really good music. I like how differently all four of the characters play from one another. But I do not think that it is worth playing through all of the characters for the final true boss
Oh
kind of thing.
wow.
It's really worth just playing, through one character, and then that's really good enough. Amy's playthrough is definitely the hardest, But yeah, would definitely recommend checking it out.
Yeah, that was my first Sonic game as a kid.
Nice. Yeah, I had 1 and 2 as a child, but I never beat either of them, so I want to go back and try to beat 2. And then eventually 3.
Yep, I need to play 2 and 3 as well.
Alright, what you got next, sir?
I've played Red Dead Revolver, beat that on August 5th. So I went through. I had FOMO in 2018 for the incredible Red Dead 2 that was coming out. Never played any of the games of the series. Girlfriend bought it for me. Played it. It was fun. I like took huge gaps between the like times I would play that game, and um yeah, took me like probably a year or so, maybe 2 years to like actually sit down, finally play through Red Dead 2. Long story short, loved that game when I was done with it. Really great game. Then like the year after that, I played Red Dead Redemption 1. What a great freaking game. Um, and I really like um, Western stuff, like TV shows. I've watched a lot of Western TV shows, like specifically like the late 1800s, early 1900s era of U.S. West. It's so cool, and there's not a lot of that in the video game world. You've got Call of Juarez games, you've got Red Dead Redemption, you've got Gun, and that's about it. Um, and I figured I'd play Red Dead Revolver. It was a weird game. Hasn't aged great at all, but it was okay. I would say it. Do not recommend. It hasn't aged great. It's nothing like Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2, and it's I would say Gun is the better game of the two.
Good to know. Yeah, I've never played Gun either, but would you say Revolver's worth playing, like, from a historical standpoint, knowing that it is what led to Red Dead Redemption and Redemption 2? Or is it still
I
not
think
worth
you're
it,
better
really?
off playing Gun.
Good to know. All right. We'll take that information to heart. All right. Next up for me on July yeah, no, June 18th, I beat Cyber Citizen Shockman, which is a modern kind of port slash kind of updated version of a game called Shockman, which was a TurboGrafx 16 game that was released on Switch, PS4, PS5, and Xbox.
Wow.
So kind of a cool niche game to get a re-release slash updated version. Honestly, the main reason that I got it was because I thought that the art style looked really cool, and then I found out that it had an easy platinum trophy, so I ended up playing through it because a little bit of both. If to be fair, I was sold first on the art style, platinum trophy being easy second. But it is a fun little interesting game, a side scrolling kind of beat 'em up game where you play as a little cybernetic superhero. You could be a boy or a girl, and then you go through different paths in the neighborhood to get to different levels and different bosses. So each playthrough you could take a different path, which is pretty neat. Um, it's honestly just okay. I don't think I'd recommend it, but I do like seeing old niche games like this get revived to modern platforms just from a kind of historical and preservation uh, lens.
That sounds pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. And in case you were wondering if you ever want to get the original version for your TurboGrafx 16, since I know you want to get more games for that, the original version is just called Shockman.
I
So,
thought you were gonna.
but the new version, that's
I thought you were gonna hit me with like the original version is just $500.
no, I actually don't know what it's worth. But yeah, the original version is just called Shockman, and the re-release is called Cyber Citizen Shockman.
I mean that
So,
name right there. That sounds freaking awesome.
oh, it's a great name, totally. I was like, that's and it's like the art style is very like of the time animes. I was like, man, this is like a game made for me. And then it ended up just being okay. But like I said, cool to just get niche re-releases
Yeah.
like that. All right, what you
I
got
got,
next?
let's see. Oh, Kumaju Remilia Scarlet Symphony. It is a Switch game. that actually is a remaster from the PC. It's a weird scenario. Um, this is an extremely Castlevania e game that I was gifted. The physical only came out in Japan. You can get it digitally here in the States, but you don't need to. You can pass on it. It's a
Mm-hmm.
Castlevania, not a Metroidvania, but like the old school Castlevanias where it's a 2D, running through a level and killing people. It was just like I don't remember why I hated it or why I disliked it. I guess it wasn't fun for me, and I think that the I did something I don't normally do with this game, and I played through the whole game on like normal, and the final level was
Mm-hmm.
just pissing me off, and I was like, dude, I literally am not enjoying myself. I'm putting this on easy, and I'm knocking this crap out, and that's what I did.
I've totally been there. I've totally been there. No judgment. Sometimes you just got to get it over with, and sometimes doing the baby way out is the only way. So,
It was just a forgettable game, honestly. That's all I can say about it.
do not
Pass.
recommend. All right, next for me on July 9th. Only game I beat in July, Grimace's birthday.
Hey.
So, for those of you that don't know, for some reason, for Grimace's birthday last year, not only did we get a weird purple milkshake at McDonald's, they also made a brand new Game Boy Color game. It has like 3 or 4 levels. You could beat it in like 10, 15 minutes, but I just thought it was cute and fun that they did that, and it's neat that McDonald's, this big corporate company, spent the time to make something weird and experimental for absolutely no reason. Um, I don't know. It's fun that they did it, so I appreciate it. But it's like there's no reason to actually play this game, so I'm not gonna recommend it by any means. But I like when just when people get creative, and this is definitely a creative idea. So shout out to Grimace's birthday, the only game I beat in July. It was not a not it was a well, I must have been busy that month because I didn't do much
It
clearly.
is hilarious that that exists. Like, what was the meeting like for that? That's so funny.
I know because there's no way that it like did anything for
Right.
McDonald's. People are not going and buying Grimace shakes or anything because of Grimace's birthday on the Game Boy Color. It's just everything about it is super bizarre, and I love it for that.
Yep. I should play that.
Yeah, I mean they didn't even sell it. It's just like a free download that you download online, and it's like they even know it's like you have to have a Game Boy emulator to play it. So it's like some weird savvy retro game nerd must work at McDonald's. It's just like, hey, I made this. Could we put it out? And they're like, sure, why not?
Oh. All right. I played another bedtime game, Kirby Triple Deluxe. Man, I was big
Ooh,
on 3DS.
dude, shout out to Kirby Triple Deluxe. Super underrated game.
It was. I mean, you talk about playing Robobot being pretty awesome, right?
Yeah, that I think that's just like one of the greatest games ever. Period. Definitely the best Kirby game, but Triple Deluxe is also very good in my
I
opinion.
had a great time with it. I mean, the 3DS didn't miss for me. I'm catching up on all these first party, freaking Nintendo titles that I never got to play, and I'm loving it, man. 3DS has some good platformers.
Yeah, Triple Deluxe is definitely kind of a more generic Kirby game, but that's not always bad. Kirby still has a very unique and cozy style, so it's a very fun
That's
game.
a perfect bedtime game if you're out there.
Oh, 100%. You should definitely play Planet Robobot this year, though. 1,000%. Because if you like Triple Deluxe, it's way, way better than Triple Deluxe, which is already
I gotta
fantastic.
buy it.
Ooh, I think it's expensive still, so might have to pay up a little for it.
What you got?
I have next up the only game I beat in August, Parappa the Rapper. I hate this game. Oh my god. Um, I love how it looks. I love the songs. It's super charming in every way, but the game is stupid because the button timing of what you're supposed to actually press the buttons doesn't match the display on the screen. Uh, it's weird. Like it's the beat of the song and when you're supposed to hit the buttons. You know, like when you're playing Guitar Hero, you hit the buttons when it hits. They come down the
Yeah.
track. The green circle falls into the green spot. That's when you hit it. That's not what it's like in Parappa the Rapper. It's like a vague idea of what button it wants you to hit around there. So it's like you really got to figure out what the game just wants you to do. And oh my god, it's so infuriating. Some of those songs took me so long because it's like I just couldn't tell what the game wanted me to do. Like part of me was like, all right, should I just memorize the buttons that I have to hit and then close my eyes because the track is making me question when I'm supposed to be hitting the button? It is so bizarre. And it's only like the game literally has 5 songs. It's so short. It's like the shortest rhythm game ever. And it took me like 2 or 3 nights to beat because of how obtuse the timing is. So I don't know, man. I can't recommend it, honestly. It's super cute and charming. Uh, I think it might be the first rhythm game ever, actually, if not one of the first. So definitely significant, but there's just way better rhythm games out there to play. So Parappa the Rapper, it's a pass for me,
Is the
unfortunately.
PSP game a port or a remake or what is it?
I actually don't know. I didn't know there was a PSP version, so I couldn't tell you. But I do know that they re-released Parappa the Rapper, the PS1 version, on PS4, and it has the same issue. So just don't even
People
bother.
swear by Parappa.
People are wrong, and I'll probably make people angry, but that's just how I feel. And maybe I don't know. Maybe I just suck. I don't know.
I played a rhythm game called Guitar Hero.
Oh yeah.
August 14th. Yeah, I grew up with the I didn't have a PS2, so I grew up with Guitar Hero 3 and like every game after that. Guitar Hero 1, this is my first time ever playing it. Thank God I have a CRT. I'm sure it sucks on an HD TV, but
Oh yeah, man.
yeah, played on PS2 with the wired controller and everything. Played through the whole campaign. It does kind of suck having covers. Like I definitely prefer
Hmm.
the actual songs. Um, but I guess as a game, it's pretty solid. It's the foundation. Um, Going from 3 back to 1, it's definitely a downgrade. Like 3 feel like 1, dude. It's like you have to hit it dead on. 3 makes me feel like maybe I'm not as good as I always thought I was, or 1 makes me feel that way.
Yeah, yeah. 1 and 2 have much more strict timing for sure.
It's pretty crazy. Like, yeah, but it's the foundation, and it's still Guitar Hero. I don't think I would recommend it per se. Like from a historical
Mhm.
standpoint, play it, but you probably start with Guitar Hero 3.
Yeah, I remember when my sister got Guitar Hero when we were kids, and it's the reason for those that are maybe I know a lot of people are probably gonna listen to the video and not watch it, but behind me, and you may see in a lot of collective perspective, I am a guitarist and a bassist, and Guitar Hero is the reason. So I'll always have a very special place for my the original Guitar Hero trilogy since I played the crap out of all of
I
them. I specifically remember my favorite song in Guitar Hero 1 being Bark at the Moon.
Heck yeah.
Um, it's a great song, and the cover was pretty good too. So, and it is funny listening, you know, going back and they're all covers because it's like, they couldn't afford the licensing back then. So they worked with what they got, and it's still ended up being pretty legendary in the end. So,
I also got a real guitar because of Guitar Hero 3.
look at
Literally.
that. It's a beautiful thing what Guitar Hero did for a lot of us, all jokes aside. Alright, next up for me, only game I beat in September. This is a great game if you've never heard of it. Have you ever heard of Monster Prom?
I'm gonna say no.
So it is super fun. It's on modern consoles. The version I played was called Monster Prom Double XL because I had an expansion added on from a PC version of the game. So it is a Mario Party like dating sim game where you're at a high school of monsters and you're trying to romance other monsters to go to the prom with you. But you can play with up to 4 people, and you can all compete for the same people if you want to take them to prom. So you're basically fighting for whoever you think is the hottest monster to take them to the monster prom, and it is each it goes like throughout a week, and it's like you choose what to do each day. If you want to go to gym class, if you want to skip class, you want to go to the computer lab, all these different things. And each place you go, you have different interactions with people, and each there's like different elements where it's like uh you decide like it'll ask a question and everyone answers, and then whoever everyone agrees had the funniest answer gets to do like an extra side mission where you can like speak to a monster that'll bring up another player, and you could either praise them or trash them to get them to like them or dislike them more. And it's just super super fun. It's such a good time. It is, as far as I know, the only party dating sim game, which is very funny, and the whole concept is just very funny and creative. So it's definitely fun to play in real life with 3 other
Yeah.
buddies. See whoever can get the hottest hottie at the monster prom. It's a very, and it's super funny. The writing is hilarious. 100% recommend. You could play it alone, but it's one of those things where it's like you don't want to play Mario
Yeah.
Party alone. You don't want to play Monster Prom alone. It's a very social game. Uh, but yeah, I think it's a bit of a hidden gem. A lot of people seem like they don't know about it, but it's a very, very heavy recommend for me, especially if you have some close friends by to play it with. You'll have a very good time playing
That's
it.
good to know. If I saw that, I would absolutely pass on it before this chat here.
Oh my gosh. No, I'm telling you, it is so fun. Like next time you're hanging out with your girlfriend or anybody, you'll have a blast. Me and Anna, my wife, we downloaded it on a whim and we played like I think like 5 or 6 rounds in one night, and we just had such a blast. It's
That's
super
awesome.
fun. Yeah. So what you got next?
Speaking of monsters, I played Doom 1993, boy.
Dune?
Doom, Doom, M as in Mary. Yeah.
Doom. Okay.
Um. Yeah.
Interesting.
Just one like on my list of historical important video games I've never played. Wasn't alive in
Mm-hmm.
'93. Didn't get the shareware floppy passed around, but I I
It's a
did play
shame.
this on Game Pass, and I mean it's cool. It honestly holds up really well. Um,
Yes,
you've
it
played it,
does.
yeah. It's brutal still. You freaking walk around
Yes, it
with a
is.
shotgun and you just blowing these monsters to smithereens. You're walking through. I don't even know the story. Are you walking through hell? I don't know.
Yeah, it is so fun listening to heavy metal in 16-bit.
Yeah.
It's a great
John
time.
Romero and all those guys made an incredible game there that still holds up today. Go give it a shot for sure. Would recommend.
Yes, Doom is a must play. It somehow holds up incredibly well for being such an early first person shooter. Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely fun. Next up for me, I did my yearly replay, and that's right, yearly replay of Sonic Adventure on October the 10th. So I've never actually played through the GameCube port, Sonic Adventure DX. I only ever played the Dreamcast version. Um, and the GameCube version is so bad, I had no idea. Like, I always knew that it was buggier because I had played the 360 and PS3 ports at some point, but the GameCube version definitely I had the most bugs and glitches of any other
Wow.
version. Um, I love Sonic Adventure. It's one of my all-time favorite games. I personally think Sonic works better in 3D. Going at high speeds and actually being able to see what's coming is a plus in my opinion. That is the main reason I prefer 3D Sonic over 2D Sonic. Um, I am very nostalgic for the game, so I do know that I am biased because I'm one of the 4 people who had a Dreamcast as a child, and I had Sonic Adventure, and I played through it over and over and over and over again. I still love the game to death. I think aesthetically is unmatched. The music is fantastic. The whole thing feels very, you know, lo-fi chill beats to study and relax to. The video game, just so much of it's very aesthetically pleasing. I love all the different campaigns, but DX on the GameCube is definitely not the version to play. I know you're not the biggest fan of Sonic Adventure, but it is a top 10 all time for me. And even if I do take off the nostalgia goggles, I think it did a lot of cool and creative stuff that still really hasn't even been done again today. So it's a very special game in my opinion.
Every year, huh? That's pretty crazy.
I do actually play it every. It's the only game that I replay every year. That and Gravity Rush are the games I actually didn't finish Gravity Rush again this last year. But since I've played Gravity Rush for the first time, I have played through it every single year except for last year. So those are like my two replay games that, they're just cozy games. They
Yeah,
make me happy.
that's awesome.
Hell yeah.
You ever heard of Earthbound?
It rings a bell.
August 20th, I finally took down Gygus. Um,
I'm so
I
proud
have
of
this
you.
on Super Nintendo, but I played it on Nintendo Switch Online and probably started it in 2021 with my cousin. So we've been playing this game co-op. We love the freaking Nintendo Switch Online ability to like play things cooperatively over the internet because he was actually living
Mm-hmm.
out of state for that year in 2021, I think, and like we were literally it's so great the way I know nobody takes advantage of this, but we love it. You can switch off who's playing on a single player game like Earthbound and you can take turns.
That's cool. I didn't even know that. That's
And
cool.
that's what we did. And it took us a long time just because we don't, we have our own lives and we got together to play it maybe once a month if we're lucky. And um,
Mm-hmm.
we just found ourselves laughing at the dialogue, dude. It's so good. It's so funny. And I went into this thinking, okay, it's probably a good game, but it's probably just way overhyped because people are head over heels in love with this game.
Obsessed.
And
Yeah.
no, it is right. It is the right amount of rated. It's not overrated. It's perfectly rated. Um, I just I had such a great freaking time with it. I love the music. I love the characters. I love that game, man.
Good. That makes me happy. I'm glad that you liked it so much. I feel like there is a bit of a contention because a lot of people play the game and do think it's overrated because of how rabid the fan base is. It's interesting how the game went from having a cult following to kind of being mainstream and one of Nintendo's most well-known franchises just because of how rabid the fan
Yeah.
base is. But Earthbound has always been a very special game to me. It's one of my all-time favorites. I played through it for the first time in 2014. I was proud and happy that I beat it on an original cartridge. It's the first uh, big retro purchase of mine ever. It really got me into game collecting. Was buying that game. It really, in general, got me into retro gaming. It made me download my first emulator back in the day. I remember downloading an emulator because I knew that was the only way to play it at the time without spending all that kind of money in high school. So that's how I tried it first. Um, but yeah, it really is a game that projected my life into a different way. As silly as it sounds, it got me into a lot of the things I love now. Mother 3, its sequel, is my all time favorite game. So, Earthbound is very, very special to me. So it makes me happy to hear that you played it and had a really good time
I'm
with
gonna
it.
be playing the prequel and the sequel for sure.
Mother 1 is rough, so definitely buckle up.
The
But I still think it's worth checking out, but it's definitely the hardest to get through.
even that includes the Earthbound Beginnings or whatever that is.
Yeah, because they didn't really make any quality of life improvements or anything to it. It's just a localized
Well,
port,
that's good to
so
know.
it's gonna it's it's a hard time, honestly. You're gonna have no idea where to go,
Oh
what to
man.
do. It's very hard unless you follow a very strict guide. So Just make sure when you play it that you're
Good
prepared.
to know.
But if you like it, it's still worth checking out because it's a it's a rare trilogy of games that actually has a start and end. People always say they want a Mother 4, and I'm staunchly against that. I think that it's a very good, clean cut trilogy that didn't overstay its welcome, and sometimes things are special because they don't last forever.
I want to play 3 more than I want to play Beginnings. But I definitely need to play them all.
Like I said, Mother 3 is my all time favorite game, so I can't recommend that enough, obviously. Alright. So on October 29th, I beat Super Mario Brothers Wonder. Um, I thought that it was very fun. I had a good time. Looking back at it, I actually think I like it a bit more than I did initially when I beat it. I remember saying that I didn't think it was a top 5 2D Mario. I think that I would actually consider it a top 5 2D Mario. Um, it has a very cute, unique art style. Obviously, it plays great because it's a 2D Mario game. My biggest complaints with it were just that the boss fights were just okay, slash not good at all, depending on the
They're
boss
pretty
fight.
lousy.
The final boss was fun. Yeah, the final boss fight I enjoyed a lot, but everything else wasn't very good. And really, I thought the music was kind of unmemorable, which is kind of bizarre for a Mario game because I feel like Mario games, I mean, basically all of them have a lot of memorable songs, but I don't find myself really humming any of the music from Mario Wonder. Uh, but other than that, I thought it was a great time. Didn't overstay its welcome. I was surprised at how many people said it was a game of the year contender. I don't really agree with that at all, honestly. But 2023 was also one of the strongest years ever for video games. So, kind of just tough competition. But obviously, if you like Mario games or 2D platformers, it is a must play. So, definitely recommend.
I found myself. I just finally finished it. Me and Allie did a few days ago, and I we
Oh, good.
just like found ourselves just being like, "Wow, that is so cool!" Every time we got a Wonder Seed.
Yes, definitely. The Wonder Seeds were very
I
cool.
mean, definitely the highlight of the game. It's obvious. It's in the title, but um,
Yeah.
yeah, they did some really sick stuff with that.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed the few times that Wonder Seeds did repeat, because I just at some point expected everyone to have a unique
Yeah.
gimmick. But I mean, it's few and far between, so you really don't even think about it at the
Mm-hmm.
time. Eventually, I'd like to go back and play through the special world because I did not finish the special
Yeah.
world. Because I suck at video games. But I would like to go back and try to beat all those levels because they are very challenging for sure.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna go back and 100% that game. We haven't done the special world yet.
Nice. All right, what's next for
Shock
you, sir?
Troopers.
Shock
You know Shock
Troopers.
Troopers?
No, no, I'd
I'm
never
a
heard
big
of it.
fan of like these top-down run and guns. Not like side-scrolling like Contra, but like top-down. This is a Neo Geo arcade game that you can
Oh,
actually
okay,
get it on
cool.
Switch. I mean, you can get it on all consoles, I'm sure, but uh, I I think that this is pretty freaking awesome. Like it's probably, I mean, it's the best top-down running gun that I've personally played. I played it years ago in an arcade and was like, man, I gotta play this. I gotta be able to like play this at my house. Well, it's on Switch and I freaking bought it and I loved it. There's a sequel as well I'm gonna have to play, but yeah, not a lot to say. There's like 3 different routes you can take, so there's replayability. It's tough, and it's not going to be something you just fire through. There's not unlimited continues, so that's another plus. Um,
There you
yeah,
go.
would recommend.
Neat. Good to know. I always love playing Neo Geo once in a while. They're always the best, just best
They're
looking
so pretty,
retro
man.
games. They're so gorgeous. It's incredible how good those games look. So on November 22nd, I beat for the first time the original Portal.
Oh,
Um, Obviously one of the most highly regarded games slash series of all time. The original Portal is very short. You could beat it under 2 hours if you're decent at
Wow.
puzzle games. Man, it's just so creative. The humor in it is top tier. You'll be laughing your butt off the whole time you're trying to figure out these super hard puzzles. And I don't know, it's just there's not much that could be said that hasn't already been said about Portal. It's just so good. The idea of the two different, you shoot your portal gun with two different ways to go through one hole and out the other. Really endless possibilities with level ideas you can do with that. And it's just a super, super fantastic game. Super tight, doesn't overstay its welcome. And I mean, definitely one of the greatest games ever made. So that's a definite, definite recommend
I
from
gotta
me.
play that, and I gotta play Half Life.
Yeah, me too. I have Half Life downloaded on my PC right now, so I've been meaning to check it out for a long time just because, Valve doesn't miss.
Yep.
Valve does not miss.
That's crazy. I didn't know it was such a short game. That makes me want to get after it.
Yeah, the second one's probably about twice as long, but the first game is you could beat in one sitting
Nice.
for sure. Yeah.
Um, Me and my Katamari, the only PSP game I played through this year.
Ooh, there you go.
I played Katamari a few years ago. It was that first remake they did, and I freaking loved it, man. Had never had any exposure. I beat this game on September 11th, and it was not a blast having a single joystick on the PSP. Um, that is not a comfortable console to hold. I grew up with it, but it's just gotten less comfortable as my hands have grown.
Okay. That's what I was saying when we were talking about Crisis Core at the
Yeah.
very beginning of, oh my god, like 2 hours ago. But it's like, man, the PSP is just not a great form factor system. It just does not feel good to
And
play.
so, like, the game itself was great. I'm gonna say that if it could ever be maybe it is on another console, but if it's ever, um, I think that the only negatives I would have to say about the game are that it was so uncomfortable to hold, and it's just like you should be playing any Katamari game with two joysticks, and that's just not a thing on
Mm-hmm.
PSP. So, um, maybe
Makes
skip
sense.
it. Maybe go play any other Katamari. That's what I'm saying.
I know. I wonder. I haven't played it yet, but there is a Vita
Mm.
Katamari as well. So I wonder if that it was much better than the one that you just played. What's the name of the one you
Me
played
and
again?
my Katamari.
Me and my Katamari. Okay, they always have
Yeah.
those funny names. I can never remember which is which. Like I think the Vita one is like Touch My Katamari, and then there's We Love
Yeah.
Katamari. So all those funky little things. All right, next up on 11/25, so that'd be November 25th. I beat my final Final Fantasy game of the year, which was Final Fantasy 6.
Ooh.
So, yes, I did skip Final Fantasy 5. The reason for that was because about 2 years ago, I played Final Fantasy 6. I played the mobile port and got all the way to the last dungeon, and I was like, I can't play this on mobile anymore. So I got so close to the end and never
Wow.
finished it, and it's kind of been haunting me ever since because of how good of a game it is. So I went ahead and played through the Pixel remaster. I have every trophy but one in the game to get the platinum. It's a stupid RNG trophy, which would drive me nuts. So I'll get to it eventually. But other than that, I 100%ed the game, and man, it is so good. The reason I said that I'm not sure if Final Fantasy VII is my favorite is because of Final Fantasy VI. Final Fantasy VI is uh, incredible. All of the characters are amazing. It has possibly the greatest villain of all of gaming, which is Kefka. Um, the soundtrack is incredible. The graphics look amazing. Um, I love uh, just basically every character kind of has their own gimmick of different things that they can do, or their own special ability or abilities that only they can do. Um, It's just so good. One thing that I think you would really appreciate is there's one character in the game that knows like kung fu, and you have to put in inputs like you would in a fighting game to do some of
Wow.
his special moves. So it's like there's a lot of cool stuff like that, and then there's one character that can use. He's the only character in the game that can use tools like chainsaws and stuff like that. And then one character he can learn the moves of different enemies, so that's his gimmick is he can learn enemy moves. So there's just so many good and creative and special things about it, and the story is so cool because the story is I don't even know if I want to talk about and spoil it for people that don't know anything about it, but it's basically like the war on magic. Like magic doesn't exist anymore, so like when they discover somebody that can use magic, they become like a weapon of war, and it's just super cool and deep and creative, and there's nothing else like it. It's interesting because it's when Final Fantasy also really started to step away from traditional, like Dungeons and Dragons fantasy, and they started to become like it's much more like steampunky. But I don't know, man. It's truly special. Um, it's a game that entered my top 10 by the time I finished it, and I don't know. I cannot recommend it enough. I know I've said that about a lot of games, but Final Fantasy VI is truly a masterclass, and you know, there's a Super Nintendo version, Game Boy Advance version. There's a million different ways to play this game by now, but now that it's on modern consoles, for all of you out there that are like me that love JRPGs, but it's been on your backlog, now there's no excuse, and it needs to be priority because it's as good as everybody says. It's like you hear people praise games all the time and you're like, oh, it might be overrated. It's like this is probably the most highly rated and most accurately highly rated game. It's just so good. So it is 1000% a must play for even if you don't like JRPGs. I think that it's everything else surrounding it that you might not like about like the traditional kind of JRPG combat style is just so good.
So it's a
So good.
toss up between 6 and 7 for you.
Yeah, and depending on the day you ask me, I'd say I like one more than the other, but it's just so fantastic. I can't sing its praises enough. It's like hard for me to even talk about what makes it so good because I get overwhelmed thinking about everything I like about it.
I will absolutely be playing that game. I don't think I knew it was on GBA
Yeah, you
though.
have to. Yep, it has a GBA port as well. A lot of people say that's kind of the go-to version, opposed to the Super Nintendo version because has a better
Hmm.
localization. Mm-hmm.
A little less exciting. Castlevania Dracula X. Another
Nice.
Castlevania to cross off my list. I want to say I don't want to say too much about this game, but I do want to say that it is solid in its own right, and it is often compared to its Turbo Graphics counterpart or whatever you want to call it. Like this is basically a dumbed down version of Rondo of Blood, I guess. I don't know. It's it needs to stop being compared. Okay, it's like a really solid game when it's not compared to Rondo of Blood. Rondo is like
Mm-hmm.
everybody's favorite Castlevania aside from Symphony, and that's great. But this
Mm.
is not Rondo of Blood. This is its own game. All right, folks. It is a very solid Castlevania entry. I had a good time with it. It's difficult. Played it on Wii U, one of the games I bought before the shop shut down because it's like a $200 or $300
Nice.
freaking cartridge.
Oh my
Um,
god.
yeah, would recommend.
Cool. Yeah, I've been curious about that one for a long time. I've always known about it just because it's a very expensive Super Nintendo game. But yeah, that's the one with our boy
Yeah.
Richter, right? Richter Belmont. Sweet. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. I finally beat a essential Super Nintendo game on December 5th, and that was Mega
Oh
Man
wow.
X. But I'm about to make everybody feel gross and hate me because I played the mobile
I
port.
didn't know it existed.
There's an iOS and Android port, and that is the version I played because I bought it a long time ago, and like I'm talking like over a decade ago, and I was like going through my just like purchase apps, and I was like, oh hey, I had this downloaded, so I decided to play on my lunch break for a few days, and that's how I beat it. Very very good game. I love all of the bosses; they're all very memorable and creative. I kind of maybe it's because I haven't beaten any of the original Mega Man games. I've played a good amount of one and two, and I kind of fail to see how people say that Mega Man X is so much different than original Mega Man. But kind of regardless of that, I still had a very good time. The final boss is definitely very challenging. Uh, but yeah, definitely a good time. It's always fun playing through those games and trying to figure out what bosses are weak to what kind of special powers and stuff. So, Mega Man is a probably a pretty obvious recommend. Mega Man X. Definitely gonna have a good time with that one.
Those games are freaking tough, and you're gonna get pissed off unless you use save states. Then you're gonna have a good time.
True. No save states on the iOS port,
Oh wow.
so I was able to beat it without the save states. So proud of myself for that one.
I just assumed it was hard as nails. I've never played through that one.
It definitely wasn't easy, but it wasn't as hard as like I've played Mega Man 1 and 2 and I can't beat them. So, but I played X and I could beat it. So, I would say just based off of my terrible skill set that Mega Man X is easier than
Yeah.
regular Mega Man.
My next bedtime game was Yoshi Topsy Turvy.
Nice.
um, it's not a good game.
Now,
It's early gyro and it shows. It's I'm playing Kirby Tilt and Tumble as well right now, and it's just not great the way it
mhm.
controls. Yoshi Topsy Turvy is very tough to control. I would not recommend you put yourself through that headache. Um,
That's funny.
yeah, I don't know. Just another first party Nintendo 2D platformer that I never played as a kid, and um, probably probably would have been better off going to bed instead of playing this before bed.
Hey, fair enough. Um, so next up for me on December 10th, I beat Sonic Dream Team. So if you're wondering what this game is, this was the Apple Arcade exclusive 3D Sonic game that came out this year. That people were very upset about being a Apple Arcade exclusive because they didn't want to play with touch controls. Totally fair. The touch controls honestly weren't too bad. I played it both with my backbone and without my backbone just to kind of try it both ways. Touch controls are fine. I mean, they're never gonna be super perfect or feel super comfortable, but I still didn't think it was too bad. The game overall I thought was just okay. Definitely overhyped by Sonic games, as most new Sonic games are, but it wasn't really terrible by any means either. Um, you really only had like I think like maybe 16 stages total, and then each stage had like six different ways to play through it, like getting to a goal, collecting X amount of rings, finding keys, different things like that. And there are six playable characters: Sonic and Amy, who play similar, Tails and Cream, who played similar, and then Knuckles and Rouge that played similar. Um, but it was fine. I mean, kind of forgettable in my opinion, but it also wasn't offensive either. It's not really worth getting Apple Arcade subscription for, um, but if you're a hardcore Sonic fan, like me, and you're always morbidly curious to just try every Sonic game, then it's worth checking out. But I wouldn't really recommend it to your average Joe, just to your average
I
Sonic
was actually
fan.
thinking that hadn't come out yet.
Yeah, well, I mean, it kind of came and went like a wet fart because this is an Apple Arcade game. I mean, unfortunately, stuff usually just doesn't do well when it's on Apple Arcade because even though Apple Arcade is a good service and they put out a lot of good quality games on there, just most people don't take it seriously because it's mobile gaming, unfortunately. Even though mobile gaming has been around for so long now that it definitely has no reason to not be seen as valid by this point.
I just got Sonic Frontiers, so I will be playing through that soon.
Hell yeah, that game has some fantastic boss fights too.
My next game, Burnout Paradise Remastered.
Nice.
My roommate is big Burnout Paradise fan, and he's beaten the game multiple times, and we kind of just tag team this one to pass the controller back and forth over a few sessions, and I was like, I was determined to get through it, but I was not having a blast. That probably feels like blasphemy to people listening. I think people love this game. Um,
I mean, it ain't no Burnout 3, but
I grew up
Burnout
I
3
grew
is the
up with a
goat.
couple of different burnouts, and this is not. This is open world, and you just go around and you just freaking. You literally do the same races over and over, and it's so exhausting. The only difference is you get a new car every once in a while. Like I don't understand the appeal. Um,
Hmm.
I'm good. I'm good on Burnout Paradise.
Just okay.
No, it's less than okay. You can pass on it.
Oh, wow. Okay. Pass on Burnout Paradise. I never played it, so now I know not to waste my time. Next up for me is a stupid little game called Taco Master. I played it on the Vita. I beat it on December 12th. It's literally just kind of a drag and drop game. So you're making tacos. The orders come up on the top of the screen, and you make the tacos and give it to the customers, and that's basically it. Very simple. It's as simple as it sounds. There's never more than like I think 6 ingredients that you have to manage. The game does get tough if you're trying to play through every level, like I did because I wanted to get that sweet, sweet platinum trophy, and I did end up getting it, but it did take me a while. The whole game was pretty much a breeze up until the last world, where you're doing fish tacos, and that last level took me probably about 2 hours to beat. It was getting so frustrating at some point, but a little bit of a just sometimes you like that kind of mindless kind of junk food game. It's one of those, so you just kind of turn off your brain and put it on. You play it while like you're watching a TV show kind of game. It's like a supplementary
It sounds like
activity.
something I would enjoy for an instance like that.
Yeah, it's fun. It's kind of like I mean, obviously there's much more strategy, but like I think like a Plants vs Zombies where it's like those games are good, but they don't need your full attention. Like you could play them while you're doing or watching
Yeah.
something else. So good thing to have around just for the heck of it.
Perfect bedtime game.
Oh yeah.
There's like three games I would say that really knocked my socks off this year. We got Zelda, we got Earthbound, and then I played God of War,
Mm-hmm.
Craig. The
The
original on
original or
PS2.
2018.
And
Wow.
I just
Okay.
freaking loved it. I played the remaster on PS3, um, which
Mm-hmm.
is freaking gorgeous, honestly. Um, but man, dude, what a freaking game! It holds up so well. Um, I mean, I feel like I've talked about it a lot, but it just was really so much fun. Um, the combos, the combat, man, it's just so good. It really, I can't stress it enough. It has held up so freaking well. That's my first God of War. I definitely, I'm way behind on Sony first party stuff, and like didn't grow up with the consoles, and I just, I gotta play Ratchet and Clank, and I gotta play a ton of stuff. But God of War crossed off the list now. We'll definitely be playing. I might skip to 2018 now that I've played the first one. I feel like I could definitely. I'd feel better about getting into 2018 now, but
2018 is a great
I
time
I
as
could see
well.
myself playing through like the whole series over the course of my
Mm-hmm.
next few decades or whatever. But definitely recommend God of War.
Yeah, I've been wanting to beat it because I've played it in the past but never finished it, and I have the remastered collection for Vita, which has one and two. So I think that'd be a fun game to play on
Yeah,
the Vita. Um, Maybe I'll try to make that a priority soon because I've been trying to decide what I want to play next on my Vita soon. So maybe it'll be
heck
God of
yeah.
War. Next up for me, we have House of the Dead
Hmm.
Remaster. So this is the game I was talking about earlier. I beat this on the 15th of December. And like I said, it was me and my wife played it co-op. It took us like 25 minutes and we got the good ending. So we didn't even know what we were doing and we got the best ending. And just mindless fun. It's funny because it's remastered, but it has all the same terrible dialogue and voice acting as the original version. They didn't change that, but it still plays super fun. It's kind of hard playing a light gun game with a stick, but we still had a fantastic time. It's funny because I used to play this game at my local pizza parlor as a child, and I could never beat it. And then you get home when you finally have a home console version where you don't have to pay to play, and you beat it no problem. So I had a great time with it. I kind of want to try to get the platinum trophy on this as well because it seems doable. You just have to play through the game over and over again to do all the miscellaneous objectives. But since it's like a half an hour long game, I think that it won't be too much of a drag to play through it multiple times to try to get the platinum trophy. But yeah, House of the Dead remaster I would recommend. It's a fun time, but only get it on sale because I got it on sale for about $4. Definitely worth that. I would not say it's worth like 25 or
It
$30 like it
doesn't
usually
seem
is
fun without a
because
gun.
it. I mean, I still enjoyed it. I definitely think it'd be better if there's like some sort of pointer control. Like I'm not sure if you can use like the PlayStation Move controls or anything, or like maybe on the Switch you could use the Joy-Con and a pointer. But I still had a good
That's
time
good
with
to
it.
know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we talked about this in collective perspective, but I beat The Amazing Spider-Man on Xbox 360.
Oh
This
yeah.
is I guess I'll repeat what I said pretty much, but the game itself hasn't aged super
Mm-hmm.
well, especially after you've played Spider-Man PS4. Um, it was probably a pretty good game for the time. It's open world, you can really swing through New York, and there's tons of side missions and collectibles and stuff. I just stuck to the main missions. I actually played this because I was like
Mm-hmm.
so desperate for Spider-Man 2 and I don't have a PS5. um
Man,
and it
missing
did
out.
not scratch that itch. I am still very itchy, Craig. Um
Dude, it's so good. You gotta get a PS5.
um but yeah, so my favorite thing about the game itself was the fact that, like, the story. It was a continuation, like an altered sequel to the Amazing Spider-Man, and I love the Andrew Garfield films. Um, and I think it's
Mm-hmm.
really cool. I think it was a nice little unique story, and as a Spider-Man fan, I could appreciate it. And yeah, combat was fine. It just really is nothing like the 2018 Spider-Man. Beat that on November 20th.
Nice. Yeah, I was talking to you. Obviously, we did collective perspective. We did that before we recorded this, but I've played a good amount of it on the Vita, and it runs terrible. It runs like 10, 15 frames a second at most. But I'm with you. I thought it was cool that the story was a sequel to the movie. I thought that was a really neat idea. Something that I think could be experimented with in the future in terms of movie tie-in games and things like that. But yeah, definitely, it's hard to go back and play old Spider-Man games after the
Yeah.
Insomniac games, just because they've perfected the formula of how it feels to swing around and everything so well. But definitely not a bad game by any
Yeah,
means,
for
I'd
sure.
say. All right, next up for me. So this is a little embarrassing, but I'm not gonna lie to the people. I played Pantsu Hunter. So this game, I played it initially just because I really wanted to check it out because of the art style. It's very much like 90s Sailor Moon anime style, so all the artwork is gorgeous, all the character designs and everything, they're just really cool looking because it's that kind of style of like older anime. But the whole point of the game is that you're just trying to collect, underwear. So it's very anime and silly in that way. Um, uh, but honestly, the game it's dumb and silly and very anime in that way. But aesthetically, it's great. The music is great. Um, I thought that the humor would be a bit better because of the concept of the game, but honestly, I didn't think that the humor hit very well, and maybe that's because I'm not an incel. I don't know, but it's definitely skippable. Is once I started playing it and I wasn't a big fan of it, I almost quit. But then when I realized you could get the platinum in like under 2 hours, I was like, I'll just see it through, whatever, get the platinum trophy. So I saw it through for the platinum trophy, collected all the panties, but minus the initial aesthetics, it's definitely a skip, unfortunately. Like, maybe if the writing was more clever and it could have been much funnier, then I could recommend it. And I feel kind of bad for trashing on it because it is an indie game, but it there's just a lot of room for improvement. Like, maybe if they made a sequel, there's a different way that they could approach the game to make it a little bit more entertaining. But other than that, you don't gotta play this one.
Noted. You do have to play this next one though, because Steam World
Mm-hmm.
Build was so much fun.
Mm. I have heard nothing but good things about this
I gotta
game.
shout out Daily Beating, who I'm sure is watching this. He told me about this game right before it came out, and he's like, "Hey, it's coming to Game Pass. Like, you got no excuse." I love Two Point Campus, and I'm getting into like these management games, and I'm all in, dude.
Mm-hmm.
I love Two Point Campus. Steam World Build was like this mixture of multiple genres where like I mean I'm not too familiar with what a dungeon crawler is, I guess, but apparently this is a
Mm-hmm.
dungeon crawler, but it's also a management game, and it just meshes the two of them
Interesting.
so freaking well. There's definitely replayability. I played through the game one time, but I could go and like start a new mission, start a whole new like file on a different like setting, I guess. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I will one day. Um, but as soon as I roll credits, man, it's like okay, on to the next game. Like it's just how my mind works. Um,
I'm the same way. I think the only game I ever played twice in a row without a break was Persona 5, and that was quite
that
the
sounds like a
marathon.
lot of
So,
hours.
oh my god, yeah. But no, that's cool. I'll have to check that out. Like I said, I've heard nothing but good things about it, so I definitely want to
That was
check it out.
December 9th.
All right. So next up for me on December 16th as well, I played through Habroxia, which is a indie game, a side-scrolling shoot 'em up, a shmup as you will. It's honestly a little basic. There's not really anything too crazy about it. It has like 20 stages and a couple of different challenge missions. It's another one that I partly played because I wanted the platinum trophy. I was kind of going through that at the moment, like I was just like kind of craving that achievement hunting kind of mode. Every once in a while, I'll get that way where I just want to play a bunch of games where I could get a bunch of achievements or trophies for fun. And that was another one where I knew it was doable within, like, under the 5 hour mark. So I did it, but it was a good game. Very simple. It goes on sale all the time for, like, under $5. So I could definitely recommend it if you ever catch it on sale. But other than that, nothing super special about it, honestly. Kind of just a generic space
Nice.
shoot 'em up. So you might enjoy it. Like I said, if you could catch it on sale, it's worth checking
What
out.
is it called again? Yeah, that's an easy
Habroxia.
one to remember.
And it does have a sequel that I
Oh,
have not
nice.
checked out yet. So, hmm
All right, this is my last one, Craig. I started the year with Castlevania, and I freaking ended the year with Castlevania.
hell
I
yeah.
finished Castlevania Chronicles December 20th on stream, and that was a painful game as far as like difficulty, but
hmm
it's a port of a Sharp X68000 game. Came out in 2001 for the PlayStation as Castlevania Chronicles here. It's really solid. I think that for the year that it came out, it's very cool the things they were able to do on a computer rather than a rather than a system console.
hmm
Um, But yeah, 2001 on the PlayStation is when we got this game in America, and you don't hear people talk about. I don't hear people talk about Castlevania Chronicles a lot. You know, it's
No, definitely
crazily.
not.
I mean, it's vastly overshadowed by the other PlayStation game you might have heard of called Symphony of the Night. Um,
Oh, no, it doesn't ring a bell.
but this is not a Vania, whatever. This is a freaking 2D, before they had Metroidvania, Castlevania games, and um, it rocks. It's very freaking hard, um, but the music rocks, and yeah, happy to end on a very good note. Happy I was able to freaking beat it. It was looking grim there for a while.
That's funny. Yeah, those were some fun streams to watch for sure. I enjoyed
Appreciate it.
watching you play that game. I'm never gonna play it because I know I will not be able to beat it. I don't
Painful.
have it in me. So, all right. Next up for me, I guess I'll just say my next two in a row. I beat them both on the same day. I got the platinum trophies in both of them. Like I said, I was in achievement hunter, trophy hunter mode for a little while. So these were both on December 20th. First up was Sly Cooper and the
Ooh,
Thievius Raccoonus. I played through that on the Vita. Um, I had played Sly Cooper as a child, but it was so long ago that I didn't really remember it at all. I just remember liking a lot as a kid, and I was wondering if it held up. It does. It's very
awesome.
fun, honestly. I had a very good time playing through it. I want to play through 2 and 3 this year as well, and maybe even the fourth one. What can I say? It's a PlayStation 2 classic. 3D platformer, semi collectathon. I would only say semi because there's not that much to collect. You collect a couple, like you collect like clue bottles throughout the levels, but they're not really hidden super crazy. You kind of just come across them as you go, minus a handful that are kind of hidden off to the side. Very creative boss fights, very interesting kind of cel shaded art style. Very good voice acting for the time, I'd say. Very memorable music. So, Sly Cooper, definitely recommend. And then last game I beat for 2023 on the same day, December 20th, was Full Throttle Remastered. Full Throttle is a LucasArts point and click adventure
Wow.
PC game that got remastered and they ported it to a bunch of modern consoles, including the Vita. So I played it on the Vita. Very short, under 2 hour game. Um, uh, I probably would have taken longer if I didn't use a guide, but I know I can't beat a point and click adventure PC game without a guide because those games are just so obtuse. But I had a very good time going through it. A lot of funny little quirky lines. You're clicking on everything just to see what the characters have to say. So it was a good time. Eventually, I want to play Grim Fandango and Day of the Tentacle since those were also ported to modern consoles. But yeah, so that was the last game I beat for the year, and my total games beaten was 40, so pretty good year overall.
Heck yeah, I really want to play Sly. That's another one that I definitely didn't grow up playing.
hmm Yeah, I played 1 and 2 as a child, but like I said, I don't really remember them, so I think it'll be fun to go through and play 2, and then 3 and 4 I never played, so it'll be cool to go and kind of experience the whole series. This is not a very big series, 4 games,
Yeah.
so definitely doable. All right, so we've been going for a long time, but I won't keep you for too much longer. I knew this was going to be long, but I didn't think it was going to be almost 3 hours long. So I appreciate you staying up late with me to record this. I've had a good
Yeah.
time talking. But just a few final questions, get your opinion on some things. So, favorite game you played this year? Going through it all, you said Tears of the Kingdom earlier. Would you still say that's your favorite
I
game that
think
you
I
played?
have to be reasonable here and say Tears of the Kingdom. Um, I loved Earthbound and I love God of War, but I'm gonna say Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah. I think for me, after all my gushing, of course, I have to go with Final Fantasy
Hmm.
VI. Newfound all time favorite for me. That was definitely my favorite game that I played last year. What would you say is your least favorite that you played?
Croc is such a piece of trash. Do not ever show me Croc's face again.
He didn't even have to think about it, ladies and gentlemen. He just went off. So for me, I'm either gonna have to go with Altered Beast or Odyssey on 3DS. You know what? Otis on 3DS at least is tolerable, so I'm going with Altered Beast. I cannot stand that game. So bad. So bad. There's gonna be one really angry Sega fan that sees this, and I'm sorry, but Altered Beast just ain't it. Um, let's see. What do you think had the best soundtrack of everything that you played?
Oh man, Crash Bandicoot 2 Entranced is really solid. Let me keep looking.
It is a slapping soundtrack.
I mean, I played so many first party Nintendo games, it's hard to top those, but I think I will say
Yeah,
Crash 2 Entranced.
nice. For me, I'm gonna have to give it to Sonic Adventure DX. I really think Sonic Adventure just has such a phenomenal soundtrack. So many really catchy and memorable songs, especially in the Sonic levels. And then Final Fantasy
Oh,
VI as
dude,
well. I would say is
I
right
love
behind
Final
it.
Fantasy VI's soundtrack. I haven't played the freaking game, but man,
But you know most of the
it's so
music.
good.
Yeah, it's really good. So what are kind of looking forward? What would you say are three games that you want to try to play for sure this year?
I think so. Like Steam gave like literally gave away Half Life last year. I have that on PC now, and
Mm-hmm.
I definitely want to play that. Um, mm, I wasn't prepared for this question.
Sorry.
Maybe another Castlevania I haven't played is the one for PSP, Dracula X Chronicles. I think that'll be for
Mm.
sure this year.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm actually gonna start Dark Souls, so that'll be on
Ooh,
stream
there
here
you go.
soon.
That's
I've
fun.
never played any Souls-like game. This will be a new one for me.
Nice. That'll be fun. I'll definitely be tuning in for that. And for me, I want to beat Final Fantasy 16. That was a game I was very excited for last year, and I played about 6 or 7 hours of it. And I really did enjoy it, but I just wasn't in the mood for that kind of game at the time, so I did drop it and decided to leave it for later. I want to play through Bayonetta 3 because I love Bayonetta 1 and 2 so much, but I never got around to finishing 3. Another game where at the time I just wasn't in the mood for that style of game, so I put it down and never went back. And then finally, a game coming out in less than a month from when we're recording this, Persona 3 Reload. I'm a massive, massive Persona fan. So Persona 3 Reload is a must for me. I'm super excited for that game. The most excited I've been for a game in a very long time. I played the original Persona 3 before, and I absolutely love it. So I'm very excited to see the direction they take in this remaster with all the improvements and prettier graphics and all those fun
What
things.
console was that
So,
originally on?
uh,
Hmm.
PS2. Yeah, it came out in 2006. Then there was a updated version in 2008, and then another updated version in 2012 on the PSP. So this will be the fourth version of
Wow.
Persona 3. Yep. If Atlas loves anything, it's that they love re-releasing their games over and over again and charging the same or more. So, but yeah, last year we played a lot of good stuff. I think we did pretty well as shelf collectors. You know, most people think we don't play
I'm
our
like,
games, so here's us kind of
I'm
proving
so happy
ourselves.
with. I mean, I played so much high quality stuff, like so much freaking. I don't know, 9 out of 10 stuff. Like I played Hollow Knight, I played God of
Oh
War,
yeah,
Earthbound, the first Guitar Hero.
essentials.
It was a very good year for me. I played a lot of awesome stuff.
Nothing but bangers, my guy. You did well. All right, well, this, like I said, has gone on much longer than I expected. I appreciate you sticking around with me, bud. Go ahead and pimp your stuff. Where can
At
everybody
Bird Dog
find you?
Gaming on YouTube. Come hang out.
hmm And on Twitter and Instagram and all those fun things as well.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
But yes, if you are a subscriber of my channel and for some reason not a subscriber of his, make sure you subscribe to him. I upload on Christian's channel more than I upload on my own. So, but I'm gonna try to be better this year. This will be the first video of the year, and I had a very fun time just talking games with a good buddy of mine. So, appreciate you all watching. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and take care.